Why are you guys in my living room again?
Now that I think about it, the sun, we're told, is a big gaseous ball burning in space in a vacuum. By the way, since we're on the subject of vacuum, fire, the element by which the sun exerts its energy, and I don't care if it's nuclear fission or what, it's still fire, needs what element, folks, in order to continue to burn? Oxygen.
We're living on a disk, floating through space, with a tiny sun.
Hello and welcome to another Flat Earth debate on FTFE. I am your host Craig McNeil and we are here once again thanks to the final experiment. Will Duffy literally just kind of chucked a hand grenade onto the world of the Flat Earth and just walked away as it exploded. It was fantastic. I unfortunately didn't get to go to Antarctica, which I was extremely jealous about. But tonight we have a debate between our friend Flatzoid from the channel Flatzoid's Perspective and the legendary Critical Think. Critical Think is a world-leading expert in weight variation experiments. He has done more experiments than anybody else on the planet in this topic. He is the only person that has done this experiment ever in Antarctica, and today he is here to talk to Flatzoid about this experiment because Flatzoid has a lot of issues with it. Let me get the guys up on screen so you can say hello. Thank you guys for coming. Critical Think, hello, welcome to the channel.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Absolutely ecstatic. Yes, congratulations on all your achievements and everything you did in Antarctica. Now, obviously, Will Duffy funded, one of the Globers and Jaren and Austin, but you had to make your own way there, which meant that you funded yourself. So you have a fundraiser going to help cover those expenses. Would you like to tell anyone where they can get hold of that?
Certainly, yeah. So, well, my fundraising link is in most of my videos these days, and Craig has been kind enough to put it in the description of this video here. So, yeah, I totally funded this myself. It's a huge expense, and I would really appreciate if people could help me out because I'm quite cash-strapped at the moment.
Well, we do appreciate you doing what you've done, and if anyone has any spare money and feels like donating, feel free, link in the description. And if my mods could be kind enough to please every now and then spam the link to Critical Think's fundraiser in the chat. Obviously, talking on the other side today is Flatzoid. How are you doing, Flatzoid?
Good. Thanks for having me.
No worries.
Have a discussion.
Yeah,
and I just want to say,
if
Craig gets 10 likes, he'll donate all his super chats to Critical Think tonight.
Wait, what? Shit, there's 42 already. What the hell? I enjoyed having you on the other day talking to Dave McKeegan. Pretty sure we went into some kind of alternate timeline because there was no shouting and stuff on my channel. It was very strange, but quite enjoyable. So hopefully the same can happen tonight. Hello to everyone over on Flatzoid's channel. I hope you are enjoying the show. Make sure you support your favourite creator over there, Flatzoid. And Flatzoid, I do want to say congratulations for absolutely smashing Nathan Oakley in the view counts. That's to be applauded. Anyone doing better than Nathan Oakley is a good thing, frankly. So good job. His channel seems to be the only one that's not grown because of this, but hey. Right, we're going to do 10-minute openers to go over your points and then into an open discussion. Do you have any preferences to who you'd like to go first?
No, Critical can go first, it's fine.
Right, Critical, over to you then, 10 minutes, and let's hear what you have about the experiments that you did and why you think they show that the Earth is rotating.
Okay, well, this is my first time debating, so I'll have to ask Flatzoid to go gentle with me, please. And I'm going to share.
Yep.
I hope this works.
Yep, that's perfect.
Right, so this I can start now. I got to rush through this because I only got 10 minutes, and this is a long topic. But anyway, so I'm saying that the globe is confirmed because weight change measurements during the final experiment by the legendary Critical Think, which is me. They confirmed the globe and the reasons for that. So, yeah, there we go. So this experiment is about taking real-world measurements, and it's to test the WGS-84 model gravity predictions. So we're not making up any correlation or anything. We're testing a prediction. So the causation is already established. So when something turns around, like rotation of the Earth, there's a centrifugal force. That's just normal. So that's just well-known science. That's a causation of a force, centrifugal force. There's also gravity, whether you believe it or not. There's gravity that is another force, and a pair of scales measures it. So we go here. These are the formulas if the Earth were a perfectly rotating sphere. So these are the causation formulas. And because the Earth is a ellipsoid and not a perfect sphere, then we've got the gravity equations that come with the WGS-84 model. Now, I didn't make these up, but I am going to test them with my measurements. So before going to Antarctica, we did some predictions. You see, so Sydney, 1,055, etc., and Union Glacier, 1,380. This is even before I set foot in any of these places. And you've seen this graph before. So the red line is what the globe model, that equation predicts that the weight, that the mass should weigh. And then the green line that closely follows it is what I measured. So we have our model and we have our test for the model by going out and doing real-world measurements. And then when I normalize the results, I get the prediction is the green line, and all the measurements points pop up on the green line. I also test what's called coefficient of determination, which is R squared. And this tells us exactly how well the model predicts the results. And for my trip to Antarctica, this calculation says the WGS model explains 100% of the variation. So there was a variation in weights, but the hypothesis explained this variation 100%. So Flatzoid has said that I failed very bad in understanding about what science is, but didn't really explain that. And he says the incompetence to not even calibrate his scale has invalidated anything he had done anyway. So my reply to that is the inability to understand the experiment invalidates any criticism of the experiment. So first you have to understand what you're talking about. Now, the flatty folly is you have to calibrate the scales every time. So this is a misunderstanding of the experiment. If we were to measuring an unknown mass. We always have our calibration weight. Now, if we were to calibrate the scale every time, it defeats the whole point of the experiment. You would just be proving that 100 kilogram mass weighs 100 kilograms after calibration. And it would make the experiment similarly useless as taking a spirit level on a plane. So Flatzoid has also said that correlation cannot imply causal relationship. And yes, that's correct. But in this case, correlation doesn't imply causation. It refers to the inability to legitimately deduce cause and effect relationship. Now, solely. So if you have nothing else, if you just have a correlation and nothing else, correlation does not employ causation. But I am not deducing the cause and effect relationship, right? It exists. Centrifugal force and gravity exists. And that is the cause and effect that I am testing. So causal analysis is the field of experimental design and statistics pertaining to establishing cause and effect. It involves correlation, right? Yes, we did correlation, the results correlate. The sequence in time, cause must occur before the proposed effect. Got that. Plausible physical or informational theoretical mechanism. Got that. We got a mechanism for the observed effect. And we eliminated the possibility of common special causes. So there is no competing hypothesis for this weight variation.
5 minutes
So
left.
we only have one. Right, so there I calibrated the scales once, measure many, and what would cause the weight to change so significantly? And by calculation and experiment, temperature, air pressure, humidity, buoyancy, and magnetism, these have been eliminated because these effects are small. And so Flatzoid did his experiment, and he has to tell, why is that 17.5 grams there already? Never mind. But so he got a zero. These scales are meant to weigh kilograms, and he's weighing something worth 20 grams. And he thinks after he's moved the scale a little bit that a 0.1 gram is somehow significant. But this is the question I got for Flatzoid. What does this D equals 0.1 G mean? And then this is from one of my scales. What does this E10D mean? So you should know these answers. And my other question is, what is the flat Earth explanation for this? Before travelling to Union Glacier, I predicted what the weight should be at various locations. Why were the actual weights measured to be with a few hundredths of a gram of these predictions? Okay, we can leave it at that. I've got to unshare somehow.
I can stop sharing for you, that's fine.
Okay.
Got 3 minutes 20 left.
Right. I am pretty much done with that presentation. I must have rushed through it.
Okay,
But,
awesome. Right, I'll stop your time there. Thank you very much for that. Critical Think, guys, once again, you can find the information for Critical Think's GoFundMe to help cover the costs of him going to Antarctica, which he funded himself, both in the description and now, as my amazing mods will be posting it in the chat. Thank you very much for that. Flatzoid, over to you for your 10-minute introduction as to why you disagree with everything that Critical Think has done. 10 minutes starting when you start speaking.
Cool. Actually, I don't need 10 minutes, but to say thank you, Critical Think, for coming and making my point and literally refuting your own argument in your own opening statements. You started off with saying you have correlation, not causation, so that already makes it not scientific because scientific method strictly is about the causation for the effect observed. You didn't observe an effect, you made a correlation-based faux pas when saying I don't need to calibrate it. The whole reason you say you don't need to calibrate it is because it will give a different result. It will give the same result. So therefore, the scale is going to give a different result. Just by moving it alone changes the scale's weight. Yes, temperature does change it. Was it cold in Antarctica? Yes, it definitely was, so it would change it. If you say minuscule, but remember you are not controlling any of your variables, so therefore it cannot anyway be a controlled valuable experiment. Also, I would love you to actually provide us with an actual scientific hypothesis so we can go through it, because you don't really have an actual IV and DV for your presumed cause that you are claiming to be correlated. Secondly, you are saying to me that because I have a graph, therefore science. No, graphs don't make science. Graphs are just based on data that come after experimentation. You didn't make an experiment, and mine was not an experiment. It was a demonstration to show you that you didn't understand how load scales work. And yes, mine works on grams because I use it for paint mixing, which has to be very accurate within 0.01 grams. The E is just to denote to the 10 grams. So if it gives E to 10, then you have a very fine scale. So you have a very fine scale indeed, sir. Would be great if you actually calibrated it like you would, because that means it's very sensitive to movement as well. Remember, you placed it onto an airplane with a lot of turbulence. That load cell did move out of place, and it would give a contemporary of a change in the scale. And I just think you don't understand the main basics between correlation and causation, and you don't understand that if you are using science, you have to have strict guidelines and you have to have actual control variables that you couldn't keep to. So that would be incompetency. So yeah, that's my opening statement.
Okay, well, you still had 7 minutes and 45 left. I guess I'll stop that there, and we can just go into a back and forth. Guys, we'll let them go for as long as they're comfortable with back and forth. I have a hard stop by midnight because, you know, I'm a massive nerd. And on Fridays, you can catch me over on Top Hats Off, doing my Star Trek roleplay, where I play Commander Terrence Shelby, Chief Engineer of the USS Lexington. We have only 4 episodes left of this camphaign, and so far I've only destroyed 1 solar system and then somehow got promoted. So catch that tonight at 1 AM on the Top Hats Off channel. But yeah, after the back and forth, we will read questions to the guys. Obviously, super chats take priority, but if you tag me or DM me on Discord or something, I will try and read those out as well. Right, guys, I hopefully won't need to get involved in moderating. You both seem to be reasonable people. I know, I'm calling Flatzoid reasonable. What the hell's going on? But yeah, like I said, I've got a hard stop at midnight, but you guys can go for as long as you like up until that point. I know it's very, very early there for Critical Think, and it's starting to get late for you there, Keith. So, you know, over to you guys, and just have fun.
Okay, I got a question. So, Flatzoid said there was no independent variable. What makes you think that?
Well, let's first set up your hypothesis. What is your hypothesis?
I've shown my hypothesis again today, and it's on every video, that centrifugal force and gravity will cause a change in weight, because the gravity and centrifugal force will vary over various parts of the globe that we can predict. So
Okay.
that's the hypothesis.
So how did you vary centrifugal force?
Go to a different location.
Location isn't centrifugal force.
That's how I varied it, because it is different
you
at
varied
different
location.
locations.
That's again correlation, not causation. That's my whole point. You are claiming that centrifugal force, which you're trying to prove, by the way, centrifugal force. Correct?
I am verifying the WGS84 model.
WGS84 model is an ellipsoidal model that's got nothing to do with centrifugal force. Now, I'm asking you.
That's not correct.
That is correct. It's an ellipsoidal model.
No.
The
No, it's not correct.
Is simply a WGS84 is simply an ellipsoidal model that they use for surveying. You can later on expound on that to say you can make correlations with centrifugal force based on that, but you still haven't even shown the WGS84 to be a proper model in the first place, because surveying measures the Earth flat anyway. But my point is, you claiming centrifugal force is the cause for the effect. Is that correct?
No, that's not the sole cause. It's the gravity variation because of the ellipsoid shape of the Earth. And you are not correct about the WGS84 model. It does take into account centrifugal force, because that formula is for the net gravity, which is the gravity minus centrifugal. So that's so you are incorrect about WGS84 model.
Where does the WGS84 model come from?
There's a bunch of smart people, much smarter than you or I, have come. I test the model, right? I say, Well, okay, these smart guys have come up with a WGS84 model. I want to check if it's true or not. Let me see. Oh, this WGS84 model predicts this. Well, I know I can go out and measure these weights and I can determine for myself, does this WGS84 model accurately predict what should happen? And lo and behold, it does. It does, down to the few hundredths of a gram. So...
Yeah, but did you calibrate the scales?
Yes, of course I did. I calibrated them once, measured many, and you talked about flying on the airplane disturbing the scales. That's a great in theory, but you've never tested it, and I have. I've flown all over the place with those scales, and when I come back home, the scales, lo and behold, they measure exactly at the point of calibration the exact same weight. So flying everywhere does not disturb the scales.
You know what a load cell is in a scale?
Who cares?
I care because you're using a load scale, so you should know what a load scale does. Do you know how a load scale works?
Yes, it's got a torsion measurement in it, but who cares?
I care because you are claiming science, so therefore it's under very strict guidelines. As soon as you move a scale, it takes the calibration out.
No, it does not. I told you. I told you, right? I flew with these scales to various locations, including Antarctica, come back again home, and the calibration was still intact.
How often do you calibrate your scales?
Oh, this one I haven't calibrated for 6 months.
You know, I calibrate my scale every 2 months.
That's okay. That's because the way... That's okay. That's because the way you use your scale, right? The way I'm using the scale, first of all, I've got a very, very good scale, and it keeps its calibration. Now, I used to calibrate every trip, but I wanted to see how long I can go without calibrating the scale, and I test the calibration by weighing my test mass at the location that I calibrated it, and it holds calibration.
Okay, according to Ariane scales, anytime that a scale is moved, most scale manufacturers will suggest that the unit be recalibrated. Weighing readings fluctuating, there may be best times that you place an item scale performing the weight. Yes, moving a calibrated scale can take it out of calibration. The scale is calibrated to a specific location. And moving it can damage the load cell or throw it off its calibration. So, did you calibrate it in that location at Antarctica?
I think I explained already that would invalidate the experiment. That would be stupid.
Not an experiment, and this is my whole point. So, in other words, you literally taking false correlations and claiming it to be scientific because you are incompetent to be able to scale, to go and calibrate a scale. And I want to ask you another thing. Would a 100 gram, let's say you take a kilogram scale and you calibrate it where you work, okay? Should that weight be physically heavier at the poles?
I don't know what you mean by physically heavier. What does that mean?
You said centrifugal force, so it would change its physical weight.
So something weighs, right? It's physically one mass all the time. So when the force acting on it, like centrifugal and gravity, makes the weight different. So when I take a measurement with a scale, that is a physical measurement, and the measurement will measure different, yes.
Huh. So the physical weight changes. Did you test this by calibrating the scale again to make sure that this is true?
If I calibrate the scale again, the weight won't change. It will still be 1,000 grams. So why would I do that? That's not the point of the experiment.
So in other words, it is how can I put it, a rigged, not experiment.
I don't know how you make that conclusion. So let me just say this. Flatzoid goes and calibrates his scale at home. Then he goes to Antarctica and he calibrates his scale again. Flatzoid has proved that 100 grams mass weighs 100 grams mass after calibration. So great experiment there, Flatzoid.
So in other words, no weight change. Critical. No weight change.
Say that again?
So in other words, no weight change then. So the weight
Well,
change.
you've
is not-
invalidated.
so in other
You've
words,
invalidated.
No, you've
the weight
invalidated your own
change.
argument. So in other words, it's not the actual weight change; it is correlation based on the movement of the scale, which takes it out of its calibration.
So why can you tell me why do you need to calibrate a scale when you move to a different location?
I told you, because it takes it.
Tell
out
me.
of total because it.
No. What is the physical reason? What are the factors that would determine that your scale would weigh differently?
Temperature, movement, if it's out of balance.
So let's say I don't calibrate my scale like I did, and I go to Antarctica and it weighs 1,003.80 grams. It's a 3.8 grams difference. What do you say makes that difference? 3.8 grams.
Could have been the weather. It's very cold.
Okay. Have you got any experiments or proof or calculation or anything at all that would lead you to make this conclusion? Any experiments, measurements, calculations?
I did a demonstration a few years ago where I took a bottle on a scale and I heated it up and the weight changed.
How much did it change by?
A few grams.
I want to see that experiment.
It's not an experiment. That's what I'm saying. You don't understand what an experiment is. The point is, are you even in your opening, you literally said temperature changes the weight, correct?
That's correct. Can I ask you a question then to do with that?
So based on this, if you're in Antarctica, was it colder in Antarctica?
Yes.
So
what would you expect the temperature to do to the weight? What would you expect? How much weight would you expect with that temperature, and in which direction?
What was the temperature?
Inside the tent, it was, I don't know, I didn't measure it, would be about 20 degrees. 20 degrees.
Yeah. So in other words, doesn't science have a very rigorous thing? You have to have a controlled environment. Was your environment controlled?
Yes. Yes,
you just told me you don't know that. You just told me you don't know the temperature.
No, I don't. But I tell you this, right? I've done experiments before where I measured the temperature each time. I've verified that the temperature has little effect, right? So there's no point in taking measurements of the temperature. It doesn't change anything. I've done that experiment. I've done that control. I've done it all. I don't need to do it again.
So temperature changes it, yet you just ignore it. That is
okay. Let me ask you a question.
Anything you just said.
No. Let me ask you a question. I'm driving along the road in my car at 60 mile an hour, 100 kilometers an hour. A bug hits the windscreen. Does that change the speed of the car?
That's a total false equivalence. We are talking about science.
Can you answer the question or not answer the question? Does the bug change the speed of the
car? The mass of the car is much more than the bug. It's not going to change anything because that's not science. It's a false equivalence. It's a red herring. So I'm going back to the actual argument. You claimed your variable. You don't have to account for a control because you say so. That makes.
So you can tell me you have the equation for how many grams per degree centigrade. Can you give me that equation?
I didn't say anything about having equation.
No. Well, if you're wanting to make this inference, if you're wanting to make this claim, you need the evidence to back it up. The evidence needs to be degrees centigrade per gram. If you don't have that, then you can be quiet.
Okay, now you're starting to get angry. Okay, so I'm going to tell you again. Do you know you had more than one independent variable at play there? That's why it wasn't controlled.
What are the independent variables that you are claiming?
Temperature was claimed. The movement of the scale was one of them. The fact that you had magnetic anomalies there as well. You know there are. How did you account for the magnetic poles there?
So I've already said, I've already done all these measurements at prior time. The magnetic field doesn't have any effect. The temperature is. See, there's an error in the measurement. All of these things are below the measurement error threshold, so they can be ignored. So unless you can give me the degrees, how many grams per degree centigrade, how many grams per microtorr, unless you can give me these numbers, what you're saying is completely irrelevant.
Can is your scale electric?
Well, it's got
music.
electronics in it.
Someone's playing music.
Where's that music coming from?
Yeah.
Mic check.
Okay, sorry. Okay, but I'm saying, is your scale electronic?
Yeah.
And does electronics go haywire thanks to magnetic field?
Not necessarily, no.
So you say that the electronics can't be altered by a magnetic field?
The significance, like, there's no measurable effect. I've put a speaker. Do you know how many microtorrs a speaker would generate? I've put a speaker next to my scale, and it made no difference. So I think that trumps your just saying something where I've actually done the experiment and I've tested this, and there's no measurable effect.
Just saying experiment doesn't make it an experiment. Now I'm going to tell you again. Did you account for any of these controls that you're claiming to just ignore? Because if you're claiming science, you need to have controls, and those controls need to stay constant. When you tested it at your home, were those controls set the exact same control when you went to Antarctica?
I don't need to do that. Now, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. When you weigh your paint, do you go outside and measure the height of the tree next to your house?
Why do I need to do that?
Exactly. Thank you.
Is that science? Measuring a height of a tree science?
Can be.
Of course, measuring anything is science.
Measuring a height of a tree is not science. What's the cause and effect for measuring the height of the tree? Please go. Go ahead, tell me.
That's right. It's irrelevant. You don't need to do it. Same thing.
Because
I
it's
don't need
not
to measure
science.
the temperature, because the
You're
height
doing
of the
science.
tree,
Wait,
height of the tree has nothing to do with the measurement. That's the science.
Okay,
As an engineer, right? This is my job. This has been my job for many years, right? You work out what are the effects that you need to take into account on. I've done that. I've done experiments to determine that temperature has little to no effect. Buoyancy has little to no effect. Magnetism has little to no effect. I've actually measured it. What have you done, Flatzoid?
I'm calling you out and saying it's not scientific, first of all.
That's just that's nothing.
No, it's not you haven't provided science yet. You're saying science doesn't make it science. So I'm going to ask you again.
I'm not going to let you dictate what science is.
Right, guys, one at a time. One at a time, guys. Right, let Flatzoid, if you could just ask your question. Try not to, tell him what he thinks, because obviously that's getting things a bit tense. So if you could just ask your question in a polite way as possible and give Critical a chance to respond, that'd be wonderful.
Okay, cool. So, Critical think. Science is supposed to be repeatable. I think you would agree with that.
Yes.
So how do you repeat something if you don't have the same controls?
But when I'm telling you now, I don't need to keep the temperature constant. As long as I keep the temperature in the range of 15 to 30 degrees, then the scale is rated with that temperature. I've tested it that the scale will weigh the same in that temperature range. I don't need to control the temperature. That is the only control I need for temperature, is just keep it within a reasonable range.
Okay, so in case you didn't realize, you just didn't then do a repeatable experiment, and therefore it's not science. Because to do a repeatable experiment, you have to keep all the variables the same. That goes for control variables as well.
No, that's not true. There are variables that are insignificant. Temperature is insignificant. You don't have to keep it the same because it has no effect. I don't go outside and measure the height of the tree because it's not significant. I mean, the tree has mass. Maybe it will affect my scale some way. Oh, I should know. I should measure the tree. You never know. Oh, my God, the tree could affect the scales. Oh.
I don't think you understand what's really going on here. I'm going to try it another way. Let's say you are trying to... I'm trying to think what experiment can we go through. Let's say you're trying to prove that that conductivity creates heat energy. Okay? Now, you're going to do an experiment to do this, but now you don't have the same controls when you try and do it repeated. Will that be a valid, repeatable scientific experiment if you didn't follow the first hypothesis and experiment?
So I'm not sure what you're getting at there with that. I've repeated this experiment many times. So can you explain to me, why is the weight exactly pretty much within hundredths of a gram? Why is it within a hundredths of a gram of my prediction? It could be anything. If you're saying temperature, pressure, why is that the weight is always spot on within a couple of hundredths of a gram of the prediction? Why is that? Is that random? Why does that happen?
Well, you didn't have any controls to say what's the
No.
cause, so therefore it's not
If
scientific.
I had no controls, the weight would be random, right? I would not be able to predict it. But I predicted it and it weighed within a couple of hundred grams of that. You need to explain that. If you can't explain that, then you stop asking stupid questions.
Okay, I'm going to ask another one. Did you do that? Did you do multiple weights at Antarctica or just the ones?
Multiple, but you still didn't answer my question.
And did
What
those
causes
wait, when you did-
the prediction to be
Wait.
spot on?
Wait, and when you did those multiple measurements, did they all differ?
Of course they're going to differ by a couple of hundreds of grams. Of course they are. But
So
why is
therefore,
it?
an invalid scientific experiment? Thank you very much.
No, you
Because
don't understand.
You cannot repeat and get the same results because you cannot control your experiment. So therefore, not a valid scientific experiment. You just literally
Right.
made.
I just want to say a few things to refute that, right? Flatzoid, you do not understand experiments. You don't understand error. You don't understand error tolerance. I know that every time you weigh something, it's going to be, I could weigh something right here now and it would be a couple of hundredths of a gram different. But that does not stop me from detecting a difference of 5 grams, a difference of half a gram, just because the scales are not only accurate to within plus or minus 0.03 grams. That's engineering, that's science. You don't understand it. So you have not yet explained to me why the weight was a couple of hundredths of a gram from the prediction. You haven't given me that explanation. Why are you avoiding this?
Okay, I'm going to try this again. Just saying, no, you don't understand doesn't mean I don't understand, because I've clearly shown you have no idea of what science really is. So let's do this to the bare minimum. What is a scientific hypothesis?
But before we move on to that, just for the sake of fairness, I did get critical to answer your question as well. He is just asking one very specific question, and that is, why did his prediction match what was in reality? Could you just quickly address that, and then we move on to whether you think it's correlation or not? Why do you think it was that his prediction so closely matched reality? And then we could totally move on to your question there, Flatzoid, if that's okay.
It didn't. The fact he even said he measured it multiple times and he had different measured readings. Yeah, correlation again is not causation. So I've answered it. It didn't give what you claimed because it's close enough, so therefore it's true is not science. So again, what is a scientific hypothesis? Critical think.
I don't think he answered the question. Can I expand on that?
Yeah, Flatzoid, is it okay if he just expands and then he answers your question? Is that all right? Just to give him a chance to respond, and then we will get to your question, I promise. Yeah, over to you, Crickle.
So just because it weighs slightly different at one location doesn't explain that it was plus and minus 3 hundredths at one location and then plus or minus 3 hundredths at a different location, or, a few hundredths, a different location, a different number, a different prediction, nowhere near the prediction of the first one, right? The predictions are vastly different, yet the scales weigh within a few hundredths of each prediction. We're not talking about the weights we take at one location. This is multiple locations with very different predictions. So how do you explain that in Santiago it weighs 1,000.35 or something like that, And in Antarctica, it weighs 1,003.80, and I predicted it, and it weighed that. How do you explain those two different locations?
Cool. Are you going to answer my question now?
Like we say, 100% will get your question, but just why do you think there is those differences? And just a quick, like, 30-second response. And
I already explained it. Pressure, temperature, movement of the scale, magnetic fields. If you just know what a scale does with movement alone, you'll know that it gives difference. The fact that you had little change, like you said, is literally just based on any other variable. You cannot pinpoint a variable because you didn't control for anything, which means it's incompetence, which saying this is not a scientific experiment. So can you please tell me what a scientific hypothesis is, please?
Yeah, I feel like that was, even if you don't agree, that was an attempt at an answer. So yeah, 100%. I'm happy to move on to the next bit if you are critical as well, to just move on to Flatzoid's question. Is that okay with you?
I will. Excuse me. I can move on, but he's obviously making several errors in his logic there that I would like the chance to correct at a later point.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
I'll make a note, put a pin on that, so that once we've kind of done the back and forth, you can go back and kind of cover any extra points that you feel. But just for the sake of the conversation, to move it on right now, give Flatzoid a chance to ask his question and then respond to that, and then
so
once we can go back.
What is a hypothesis? Is that the question?
What's a scientific hypothesis?
That is when you make a guess about what might be causing an observed physical phenomenon.
Great. And in the hypothesis, what are the constituent variables?
It depends on the hypothesis. Are you talking our specific example or what?
Yeah, a scientific hypothesis. What are the constituent variables?
It's not just any general. So it varies on depending on what you're trying to hypothesize. So in my hypothesis here, the variables are their latitude and height above sea level. That's the variables.
Okay, so the IV is latitude.
No, there's two IVs, latitude and height above sea level.
That's not, no, you can only have an independent variable, because how would you know which is the cause?
So you're able to have two independent variables. I'm sorry you don't know science.
Okay, so how do you know what's the cause if you have more than one cause?
Because you can make measurements that isolate each independent variable. Very easy.
Okay, let's do it simply. What causes fire?
Something burning.
No, something burning is a product of fire. I said, what causes fire?
It's a chemical reaction, generates heat. What's the point?
Okay, so let me try and correct you something. When you make a hypothesis, this is why you have multiple hypotheses in a scientific experiment. That's why you have research, because they have already done hypothesis and experiment which has either validated or invalidated the hypothesis. A hypothesis has a single independent variable, because that is the presumed cause for the effect observed. So if you are presuming latitude is the change, you have to manipulate latitude. Great. If you're claiming height is the change, you have to manipulate height. But those are two separate hypotheses. They're not the same hypothesis. You can't have them on the same. You have to test them separately, and you have to repeat them separately. You have to have the controls the same. So I'm going to ask you again. Can you give me your scientific hypothesis for what you're claiming?
I already did. I'm not going to do it again.
No, because
sorry if you can't understand.
You're not giving a cause for an effect. You're not giving science.
I've already given it many times. What are you going on about? Already given it.
So it's not centrifugal force was the cause then?
Why are you saying that? You obviously haven't been listening. You're not learning Flatzoid. I think you should listen more than you talk. You might actually learn something.
Yeah, I think take your medicine. So you claimed latitude is the cause. Where's centrifugal force in latitude?
No, latitude is not the cause. Latitude is an independent variable.
That is the cause. That is an IV.
Right, let's not try not to
You're-
overtalk, guys. That I know we like dumpster fires on the channel, but let's try and keep it as calm as possible, and give each other a chance to get their thoughts out completely. Critical, could you just take 30 seconds to clarify your thought there, and then Flatzoid can respond?
Clarify my thoughts about, all right, independent variables, right? I don't want Flatzoid to try to teach me about science, right? That's an insult. And this is the independent variable I said is latitude and height, because these two things will vary the weight. The cause is centrifugal force and gravity. Now, changing the latitude and changing the height will change the gravity and change the weight. There's nothing unscientific about that.
Okay, first of all, the IV, the independent variable, is the presumed cause. You not knowing that already shows you don't know what you're talking about. And yeah, it should be embarrassing to know a flat earther has to literally, bang your head, has to literally teach a scientist or engineer what science is if you can't even get past what independent variable. By the way, if you're claiming latitude and height is independent variable, you can't claim gravity or centrifugal force, because those are different independent variables. So in other words, you got 4 independent variables for one hypothesis, which is literally pseudoscience. It's correlation, and gravity has also not gone through the scientific method to be even shown to be used for this, and centrifugal force cannot be used because you're trying to prove it's due to centrifugal force. So the cause cannot be the observed phenomena and the cause. So again, we're going back. What is your independent variable? That is the cause.
Well, hold on. He even if you don't agree, Flatzoid, he has answered your question multiple times. So there's no point asking the same thing.
Okay,
even if you disagree. So how about this? Obviously, you disagree with his what he thinks about what the IVs and that are. But within the globe paradigm, what would you suggest the IV would be for the experiment? Would that be a good thing to talk about?
Yeah, because it's not my claim. I'm not someone saying it's science, because I understand shape is not science, and correlation is definitely not scientific. Yes,
What?
you have correlation in statistics, but that comes after causation. Correlation comes after causation, mate.
So I want, all right then, we go back to what you said, that the weight differences were caused by density or temperature or something, right? So these random events, somehow they resulted in a measurement that matched exactly the prediction that the WGS 84 model predicted. So how can it be that random factors like temperature, pressure, magnetism, how can these random factors magically come together and make the weight exactly within a couple of hundredths, exactly like the globe model predicts? How can that happen?
Great. I'm going to ask you I'm going to play a bit of a scenario for you, and then we're going to say how it literally plays like you. I predict that when I drive down the road, I'm going to see a white dove fly from the one tree to the other. 5 minutes later, I climb my car, I drive. Oh, I just saw a white dove fly from the one tree to the other when I climbed in my car. I claim I predicted it before it happened, so therefore I just did science, and therefore I was right. Let's put this into your perspective with you. I claim weight change about this much when I go there. I don't control for any variables. Oh, look, it's more or less in the ballpark what I claimed, so therefore science. Did that mean that what you claimed was the cause for the effect? Just like, did that claim because I predicted when I drove my car that caused the dove to fly from one tree to the other? No, correlation is not causation. So in your scientific hypothesis, you are establishing the cause for the effect. And since you don't have a cause, you have multiple causes, and you're ignoring all the controls, you have no idea what actually caused the effect observed. You even stated yourself, measured multiple times in an article, and it gave different results. So therefore, your incompetence is showing you are reaching for straws to make it seem as if you have something, but you had absolutely nothing.
Well, that's a lot of word salad there. So the thing is, right, clearly you have not understood anything I've talked about. You haven't even tried to understand it. I've explained everything in detail, and you're still not understanding measurement error. You're still not understanding prediction. So you haven't answered me. How can variations in buoyancy, temperature, and I've measured like 100 times, how can is it be that every single time these random factors that you say are random and no correlation exists, how come they correlate with the prediction?
How come did the dove fly from one tree to the other?
I didn't predict any dove flew anywhere. I done a scientific.
I predicted that.
Okay,
you predicted
for the sake of fairness, he has asked a very specific question.
I just answered it.
Well, you kind of
You
said
don't have to come to his
something
rescue
else.
every time he runs away.
Well, no, I'm doing this. I think you agree, Flatzoid. I've been the same with both sides. I'm trying to just help both sides make sure that the conversation moves forward. And I'm just paying attention as to when a question is asked on one side and not really answered on the other. It's clear you don't agree with with what he's saying, but his specific question is, why do the correlations match the predictions? He's not saying that correlation is science or anything. He's just very specifically asking why he made these predictions, went there, and within the margin of errors matched the predictions. Could you just give a brief answer to that and then maybe move on to another subject, if that's okay?
Well, thanks to him not using science, nobody will know that. So it's just, again, based on correlation.
How did it correlate? How did that happen? Is this magic? You get 1,000 monkeys and 1,000 typewriters. Do you think they'll type the Encyclopedia Britannica sometime? That's what you're saying.
The point is, you didn't use science. You didn't have an actual independent variable.
The point is you haven't
didn't manipulate your independent variable, and you ignored all the controls. So therefore, it's not repeatable. And now you have correlation-based errors, and now you're trying to tell me, well, then what caused it? That's not my burden to prove your incompetence shows different correlation. You didn't have science. It's not my problem. It's yours.
Just a minute. I just got to reply to something here. So you still can't answer the question about why the correlation exists, even though there are random factors, and you deflect by saying, in your opinion, I did not do science, which is only your opinion. It's not real. So you still don't explain the science of it. You don't explain the correlation that happens to exist by some random events where have magic, the temperature and the pressure, magic gives the exact same prediction as the globe prediction. That's magic.
Okay,
you believe in...
Okay, what was the temperature at your home when you tested the scale the first time?
So magic again.
What was the temperature? You had to log it down. You're doing science. So what was the data temperature that you took when you were at home or doing the scale test?
I did that experiment way back, about 3 years ago or something. I don't remember the exact numbers.
So what was the air pressure? What was the temperature?
Yeah, I did that experiment.
Okay.
I got video on my channel.
So you didn't have the data put down, so already invalid. Okay.
I've got the data in the video.
When you went to
What's
Punta
the point?
Arenas, what was the pressure and temperature again?
I don't need to take those measurements because they have no effect, no measurable effect.
Okay, then what was the temperature and pressure when you went to Antarctica?
I do have a pressure reading. I don't have a temperature reading, but I don't need to take those measurements because they have no measurable effect. Even without taking those measurements, can you explain to me... No. Let me finish. Even if I did not take those measurements, can you explain to me how the weight, even without taking the measurements, the weight was exactly within a couple of hundredths of a gram of exactly as predicted, even though I did not factor in temperature, pressure, anything. I did not take those factors. If what you said is true, then these readings would be all wrong. They would not be exact. They would be way out. They wouldn't even correlate. So what
Okay.
you said is not correct.
I'm going to put you back to where you said you did multiple readings in Antarctica and they were all different. Correct?
I think he was referring to using different weights rather than multiple readings. I just
No,
want
he
to
said
clarify. I've been
he
making
did
notes as we
the
go along. Am I wrong there? Critical. Were you referring to different weights or the same weight?
So I did readings at the shack, the halfway point, right? And I already said that on my video. And then I did a reading. I don't remember doing more than one at the camp, a Union Glacier camp. But yeah, but there have been many times where I've done multiple readings at a location. So again, a few hundredths of a gram difference is within the expected error of the measurement. It's nothing to be concerned about. My point about this is that if temperature and pressure need to be measured and I did not measure them, then why were my readings within a few hundredths of a gram of my prediction? I didn't measure temperature or pressure. Surely that would have thrown it out, way out. It should have been like 1,000 grams that is measured, 1,000 gram, maybe, or you could say 1,000.1. That if the temperature was having an effect. But I measured 1,003.8 right on the prediction, not just some little variation because of temperature or pressure. How can the temperature and pressure make that much a difference?
There's humidity at change, there's pressure at change, there's temperature at change, movement of the scale at change, magnetic field at change. Everything can play a little role. I mean, you saw my demonstration where I literally moved it 10 centimeters and I changed it by like a gram. So you
1/10 of a gram.
Yeah, well, the point is
Within the error of the scales. Within the error of the scales.
Okay, so anyway, the point is you are still just hand wave dismissing that you had no control of anything you claim. You didn't even take the data down for what you're claiming to be scientific. Therefore, it is not scientific from the conception till the demonstration, because it's not an experiment, till going home and you're claiming it is science. If you had to take this, and I actually urge you to do this, please take this to a scientific, reputable education system and ask them, is this scientific? They're going to laugh at you because they're going to say, first of all, you didn't follow any science. You didn't control any variables. You just handwave dismissing everything that shows you don't have data for anything, and you're just making correlation. So therefore, they're going to tell you it's pseudoscience.
I just have to close the door here. Hang on.
And to think when he did the other, wind was also a...
Wait, to be fair, don't say
thing.
when he's not here, you know, just make sure
but
he's
there
there.
he is again. But yeah, did you take wind into account as well?
People complaining.
Yeah. Was that a challenge there, Flatzoid, to get some kind of educational authority to check his experiment?
Yeah, send it to an educational system and see what they will say about he's not science.
Critical, would you maybe consider having some kind of peer review done on what you've done to satisfy any questions? Maybe speak to a local college or something about what you've done?
That's okay. You know, I got proper scientists who are very impressed with my work.
There's these proper scientists. They wouldn't be like McToon, would they?
No.
Great. Then I'm happy.
I'm McToon. Just ask Santa Spinacci.
So yeah, I think we've established this is beating a dead horse. He doesn't understand science, guys.
No, we haven't established that. We've actually established that you don't understand my experiment still. Even though I've tried to explain it, you're being very thick about everything, and you're still trying to deflect from the fact that a random variation like temperature and pressure can somehow be like 100 monkeys on 100 typewriters, and one of them will type a novel one day.
What was the humidity?
Why should I worry about that?
Another variable you didn't control for.
I told you already. I've done the experiment, measured humidity, measured pressure, measured temperature, there is no correlation. The effects are smaller than the measurement error. I've done the science. Why are you ignoring the science, Flatzoid?
Okay, what happens when you take a weight up a mountain, a scale up a mountain?
It weighs different.
Does the density of the air change the weight as well?
Yes, but there's no correlation.
So was the density of the air different in your locations?
Which location?
You had multiple locations. All the densities of the airs were different.
Of course the densities are different. I already told you, explained to you. I don't know why it's so difficult for you to understand this. This has very little effect. It's not measurable. The density changing is not a measurable effect. And
So?
it's a random effect. A random effect cannot produce a correlation. That's science for you, Flatzoid. Do you know about science? Oh,
so
no, you don't.
So you're saying density of air doesn't change measurable weight of a scale?
Do you mean density,
That's
Flatzoid,
like-
or pressure? Just to clarify, people are asking, do you mean density or pressure there?
The density of air is based on pressure, yes.
So the bug hitting the windscreen argument. I got it.
No, that's again a false equivalence. I'm asking you specifically.
No, it's not. It's exactly
if
the
you
same.
stick a scale in a vacuum chamber and you evacuate air, does the weight change?
How much does it change?
Quite a bit.
How much? Where's the
Depends on the
experiment?
weight.
Where are the measurements?
Okay, I'm going to quickly get something. Give me 2 minutes.
Whilst he's doing that, I will quickly do some housekeeping. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you smash the like button and share the screen. Subscribe if you're not already, or I'll send Daniel Pratt to your house. Link to Critical Think's GoFundMe fundraising for his Antarctica trip is in the description. If my mods could please spam it right now in the chat. Also, February the 14th to the 16th, I will be in New Jersey, as on the 15th, I am debating Andrew Wilson at DebateCon. We're hosted by Modern Day Debates. Tickets are on sale now. Early bird prices until February the 15th, till February the 1st, sorry. VIP tickets get you dinner with the guests and signed badges from all the guests as well. So check it out on in the community post that I did a couple of days ago. Right, what did you have there, Flatzoid, for us?
I'm sending you the link. I just want to go to timestamp 131.
Right, give me 1 second to bring this up. Pop up Google Chrome, and I'll show that to you guys as well. 1 minute 31, did you say?
Yeah.
So he's starting off at 19.81 grams. As soon as I turn on the vacuum, though, he starts to gain weight.
That's all we need to see.
He's already gained around 0.02 grams.
So the pressure reduced by about 86%, and the weight went up by 0.12 of a gram.
So did pressure make a difference with the weight?
I've never denied that. But you're not...
Okay. No.
It's like, does it
again.
slow down a
I
car?
just want to finish my point. I just want to finish my point.
Never denied that. And how did you see that? That was an 80%, like what, Craig? 80% change in pressure. You'll never get that in the real world. And then there was whatever it was, a small change in grams. That's still not 3 grams, right? That's 0.1. So how you still haven't explained a 3 gram difference, 3.8 gram difference?
Okay, so I'm going to ask you again. This was one variable. That showed the independent variable changed was the pressure, okay, the air. That was one variable. Now, what happens if you had to change the temperature as well, the humidity as well, you had some magnetic flux, and you had to move the scale? Would it give a different reading?
So, yes, okay, a little bit, right? But it would never correlate. It would never line up. It would never match the prediction, because all of these things you say affect the weight, they would make the weight wrong. I would never be able to correlate the measurements if what you say is correct, right? Because the weights would be all over the place, but they're not. those effects are less than the error of measurement.
Okay, then I got another one for you. Are you going to go again to Antarctica to make the repeatable thing and see if it gives the same results?
Oh,
come
maybe
on,
I
it
will one day. But why do I need to do that? Because I go many places the same over and over again and repeated this experiment many times. Why do I need specifically to go to Antarctica?
Because that's called repeatable experimentation.
But
Why
I've
do you-
repeated this in many locations. Why do I need to particularly go to Antarctica?
So different locations give different results, correct?
I've been to different locations. Why do I need to specifically go to Antarctica?
No, different locations give different results.
Yeah, I've done that. Why do I specifically need to go to
I'm just
Antarctica?
asking, it's a yes or no question. Different
No,
locations.
so why? Why do I need to specifically go to Antarctica?
Don't ask me a question, just answer.
You should answer the question.
Does different locations give different results?
Why do I need to specifically go to Antarctica?
I'm asking you a specific question, not go answer another question for me. What does happen when you change location? Does it give different results?
I've answered this 1,000 times, and I've
Would you mind-
told you already. I've gone to many locations, repeated the results. Why specifically do I have to go to Antarctica?
Just,
you
just,
go
just,
to
for the
those
sake
same
of just for the
places?
sake of fairness, Critical, would you mind just directly responding to his question, just so we can move the conversation on? He's asked, does going to different locations give different results? Would you just mind giving a yes or no answer to that?
Yes.
Okay.
Great. So did you go to those same locations multiple times and get the same readings?
Yes.
Right.
You just
Okay.
said you got different readings in Antarctica. So how that doesn't make sense.
What? You said the same location get the same reading. So yes, within the measurement error, yes.
Without taking any variables into consideration.
I did take variables into consideration.
So you did take temperature into consideration. How did you account for it?
Temperature is not a significant variable in my experiment.
Can temperature change, even if it's minuscule, it can change their experiment results?
Yes.
Okay. And humidity does the same. Moving the scale does the same. If it's not calibrated, it does the same. Magnetic field does the same. How many more variables do I have to account for that is not accounted for in your not experiment?
So they're all accounted for. I've already told you many times. I'm going to repeat again. They are all accounted for because they are insignificant. So if they were significant, I would not get the result. I would not get the correlation. I would know that there is something wrong with my experiment because the results do not match exactly within measurement error. I would know that I've missed out on a variable if it does not match. I've got the correlation. How do you explain that random things like temperature, pressure, etc., can produce an exact result? How does that happen? Magic again. You like magic, don't you?
I'm gonna teach you some more things. You see, I got one spoon here. Now imagine this spoon changes the scale on the weight on the scale by 0.5%. Now I place another spoon. I've got two spoons on there, and it changes it a bit more. And eventually, I've got 6 spoons on there. Now it has maybe a 0.25% difference. Do you understand? Each spoon represents a different variable you didn't control for. Do you understand those variables you didn't control could all together cause your discrepancy that gives what you claim to be the cause? So in other words, you can't make a deduction that what you claiming is the cause for the effect observed. It could just be the conglomeration of all the little bitty spoons placed together.
I'm going to answer that. If what you're saying is true, then my measurements would not correlate with the prediction because all those little things, they would make the measurement invalid. They would make it wrong, and it would not measure exactly the prediction. But somehow all the little things, that you want to make up and everything, they all magically make the weight go to the exact point of the prediction. Oh my God, you really do believe in magic.
Have you heard of Flatzoid before?
What?
Flatzoid.
No, I don't know about that.
It used to be the presumed cause for fire. Do you know why they presumed it to be the cause?
What are you talking about?
For the exact same thing you're doing here. It was correlation. So, do you understand when something is correlated, it doesn't make it causative? So your claim that it is the Earth rotating, making the weight change, is not showing to be true because you are giving a correlative claim, not a causative claim. Do you understand that?
So you've got it backwards. I've specified the causation. I'm just making a measurement to verify it.
No, you haven't shown any independent variable being manipulated to say that's the cause.
Yes, I have. I've manipulated latitude and height.
So latitude and height caused weight change.
Why are you so stupid?
You just told me the independent variable manipulated was latitude and height. That's the cause in a scientific experiment.
No, that's just your words. That's not the scientific method. You're just making that shit up.
So latitude and height didn't cause weight change.
No, it's the centrifugal forces. What is the independent variable for the centrifugal force is latitude and height. That's not so difficult. Why are you making it so difficult?
So centrifugal.
You're trying to play a semantic game instead of looking at the science.
Did you manipulate centrifugal force or did you manipulate your location?
I manipulated the centrifugal force by changing location.
Okay, let's take a merry-go-round and it's spinning at, let's say, 500 RPM. Okay? Does the centrifugal force change when you move location on that spinning turntable?
If you move around the rim, no, but if you move towards the center, yes.
So you have different tangential velocities.
Yes.
Great. Are you able to prove that that merry-go-round is spinning?
I think I can look at the merry-go-round and see that it's spinning. I don't know what else you want.
Okay, let's say you're an ant. Very small, and it's a huge spinning merry-go-round. I'm playing Globo here. And you're going from the center of that spinning merry-go-round and you're moving outwards towards the edge. Are you going to feel a difference in centrifugal force?
Yes, and you can measure it. And that's how you can know you're spinning.
Okay, how would you measure it?
With a measuring device.
How would you measure it?
So if you get your scales and let's just say if you get your scales and any device that measures force in a horizontal direction, you could use it even with the accelerometer on your phone. You could hold your phone up and you would see what the G-forces are in the horizontal direction. And then as you move towards the outside of the merry-go-round, it will change and it will match exactly the centrifugal force formula. That's how you would measure it.
Oh, so you calculate it, you don't measure it.
Can I just find my oven mitts somewhere? Oh no, sorry, I don't have them.
Do you want this?
So I'm going to ask you again. So did you use calculation based on correlation, or did you make actual measurement?
Can you ask that again? What?
Did you use calculation based on correlation, or did you use actual measurement?
So I showed you the formula for what the gravity should be. I calculate what it should weigh, and then measure, and it weighs the same. It doesn't weigh anything else. It weighs the same.
So
And then you correlate the result, and then you find that your prediction is matched by the measurement, and therefore the prediction is valid and relevant.
So correlative. Okay, so my point what I'm making is you claimed I can use the phone to measure the G forces, and because I'm an ant now, moving outwards to the rim, I am able to see a difference in this G forces. So therefore, my calculations show that there is a centrifugal spinning force, correct?
No. So what you've done is you've hypothesized that there's a centrifugal force, and then you tested it by first calculating what you should read on the G meter, and then going out and measuring it. And when there's a pretty close to 100% correlation, you can state, well, there's no other reason, there's no competing hypothesis. The best hypothesis I have is that I am rotating.
Great. So that's causation. I mean, that's correlation, not causation. So how do you know it was based on the spinning merry-go-round instead of maybe the phone had faulty software?
Because if the phone had faulty software, it would not correlate, right?
No.
Not correlate.
The software was faulty because it gave different readings in different locations, and because you correlated those different locations to that reading, your correlation-based deduction was Earth moving.
So the correlation that you're talking about does not exist. There is no known mechanism by which faulty software can give the exact same reading as a correlation with centrifugal force. You're not understanding the science. You're not understanding the prediction science. You're trying to make out like some random effect can magically give the same result as a prediction. It's silly.
Okay, what I was doing was trying to make it as dumbed down as I can for you to understand that correlation does not make causation. Because you correlate different weights at different latitudes does not mean it is due to Earth's rotation. That is just your simply deduction based on correlation. You might as well just say space pixies cause this. If I go and say, it's the same as me saying, okay, you know what, guys? My weight changes in the summer and it changes in the winter. Why does it do this? I'm saying it's because of space pixies. Guess what? I measured myself through the summer and I measured myself through the winter. So therefore, the cause was space pixies. Is that a logical deduction or not?
What you've just said is a complete load of rubbish, and it's
and that's what your load's based upon. That is your whole experiment.
It's a false equivalence, like because you like to use that word, false equivalence. And so, what you're
how is it a false equivalence? Go ahead. Explain how it's a false equivalence. How is it a false?
Let's start again.
No. How is it a false equivalence? Go ahead.
Okay, because you're going back to the argument again. If I measure something random, right, then something changes random. How is that a correlation? It isn't. The answer is it doesn't correlate. That's why, that's why you know it's random, because it doesn't correlate. The same that temperature and pressure and all of those things, they don't correlate with the location, right? They don't correlate. The reason why you get the correlation is because the causation exists. We're testing the causation, right? We know the causation. We're testing it, right? There is no competing hypothesis. There is no other reason for the weight to change like that, right? If you can bring up another hypothesis, I can test it. But right now I have one hypothesis and it works, 100% correlation. So why? Tell me what the other hypothesis is.
I don't need to replace your not hypothesis, but I'm gonna maybe make this another way for you, because it seems like I'm talking to a delinquent.
Come on, let's keep it friendly.
When you go and you make, I'm making it nice words, guys. When you go and you make correlative data, okay, and you use correlative data to make a graph. Now you've got your data, great. I always see this happening in these latitudes. You didn't manipulate the cause for that. You correlatively took all the data and said, look, therefore the cause is this. You didn't specifically manipulate the cause to say that is the cause. That's what I tried to explain. Your whole globe, your non-experiment that you just claimed, is based on correlation, not causation. So it is invalid based on incompetence and not being scientific.
No, none of that is true. And I'll say again, and I have to repeat myself many times here because you still don't get it. But the correlation comes after, right? First you have the hypothesis, right? The hypothesis is gravity is result of this formula. And then you can go out and test the hypothesis, and the result is correlation. The correlation doesn't come first, right? It's the experiment comes first. The correlation is part of the measure of how significant your cause and your effect. So how significant, how closely does the model match the real measurements? That's what the correlation is for. It's not to predict the cause. The cause is already known. There is no other hypothesis. You don't have a hypothesis for why the weight should match exactly what the globe model predicts. You don't have a hypothesis. You don't have a reason. You claim that is random effects, temperature, pressure can magically produce the same result as the prediction. So what have you got? What have you got other than what do you got?
Is it always colder in higher elevations?
Yeah, so what do you got?
Okay, so it's always cold in high elevations. So therefore, gravity's different at high elevations, correct?
That's not an inference that's correct.
So correlation then. Because I go higher, it's colder, therefore gravity. So when you go to Antarctica, is Antarctica always colder than Australia?
Yeah, so what's the point?
Okay, so therefore when I go there, it's always colder, so therefore weight change. You understand that's correlation. Now,
so why?
Will colder temperatures always give a reading in a certain direction compared to hotter temperatures?
No.
No. Do you know what happens to gas when it gets heated up?
Yes, it expands. So
it's faster, yeah. So when it cools down, what happens?
It gets more dense. So what's the point?
So it slows down. So what happens with buoyancy in colder weather?
So buoyancy would get more, the air would get more dense. Buoyancy would be stronger.
So it would give a weight difference, correct? In the same vector.
Yeah, the same as the bug hitting the windscreen, exactly the same.
Okay, so the same vector difference. Now, do you ever see Antarctica hotter than Australia?
If I take my scale inside a tent, and inside the tent it's 25 degrees, is it hotter in Antarctica than, say, Minnesota, where it might be minus 10 degrees outside?
Right,
do you know the answer to that?
So the tent...
Tell me, what's the answer to that? Is it hotter in Antarctica if I'm inside a tent at 20 degrees?
No, we're making points.
So
when we got
what did you say then? Did you repeat that?
So when we got the tent, because you're trying to obfuscate from the point I'm making. So when you got the tent and you got the heater inside there, is the air now moving faster again?
The molecules are moving faster. I don't know what you mean by air moving faster.
Right. And when they're heating it up, is there a current inside that tent?
There may be. I don't know. Why? Why is that important?
So air moving over the scale.
Why is that important? Why is that important?
So when you were in Australia, did you have an aircon on or a fan or? A window.
Yes, why is
open?
that important? Why is that important?
So can wind change the effect as well?
Wind can make your scales move, yes.
Ah, okay. And
That's
did you
exactly
get
why you
different
have
and
shield.
did you get different readings in the tent and in that container?
They were different locations. Of course I got different readings.
1.5 kilometers change difference, correct?
There was a 30 or so meter change as well. Plus the container could not stay still, so it was impossible to get a correct reading.
Ha! So an invalid test. Thank you for proving my point. It's over.
No, it was
It
not.
just said impossible to get an accurate reading. So guys,
In
you
the
just
tent,
fucked
at the container, it was pretty much impossible to get an accurate reading, but it was still within a few hundredths of the prediction. Do you realise that? Still within
You
a few
just
hundredths
don't
of the prediction.
understand. You debunked it once again. It couldn't
did
give an
not.
accurate reading. Thank you very much. You made
But
my
I know the reasons why there was no.
Debate's
It
over.
was still within just a few hundredths of the reading I predicted, even though it was a little bit inaccurate. It was still as predicted. So what's your point?
It doesn't matter because you said it's invalid because you couldn't get a reading.
I never said it was invalid. I said it was slightly inaccurate.
So inaccurate. Would you not prefer it to be accurate when making a scientific measurement?
When making a scientific experiment, accuracy is something that you work out and take into account. You never aim for 100% accuracy. That's stupid. That's just not a
that's
scientific
statistic. That's
experiment.
statistic. That's
You never get 100% accuracy. You take the errors into account. You do an error analysis and you work out, are your results significant, taking into account the error. That's how you do science, Flatzoid. I'm sorry you don't know.
No. Do you count the error after or before?
I don't understand what you're asking.
Do you account the errors after or before the experiment?
The errors are done by an error analysis, by taking readings over many measurements.
So afterwards.
You don't know what the error is going to be before.
simple
You
answer.
have an idea, but you don't know exactly.
Okay, so afterwards. So in other words, I needed to fit my results, so therefore let me waggle it and make it fit my results. Doesn't that sound sort of like the globe is based upon?
Object. No, I object to that statement. That is silly, right? You cannot say that. That is the stupidest thing you've said tonight.
Okay, I'm going to put it another way. You know why you think you have Earth curve?
You tell me.
Because you misplace what we observe as perspective and call it physical Earth curve. Now what you've done with your scales is exactly the same. Guys, I have a discrepancy, but it needs to match what my model says, so let's change it to make it fit.
That's
called
ridiculous.
Pseudoscience. That's pseudoscience.
I don't know.
Well
I don't
done.
know where you're getting this from. This is so ridiculous. You need to start again because what you've just said is complete bollocks. Right? We're not changing anything. I measured. Do you know I measured the weight? How did I manipulate it? What you claim is I faked the results. That's what you're claiming, right? How did I fake the results?
I said you correlated your results to work with your
No.
model
You
after
said
measurement.
I made the results fit. How did I do that?
You said you do the result analysis after the experiment.
The
and you make-
error analysis. That is not making the results fit. I am objecting to what you're saying. You are completely incompetent. You don't know anything about science. And you just got the smug look on your face. Right? You need to explain.
You know why I've got the smug look on my face? Because you're totally showing your ignorance to this whole thing. So I'm going to ask you again. Did you manipulate the data correlation after the experiment or before?
I did not manipulate anything. What the hell are you talking about?
So what was the error reports? What is your error analysis based
The
on?
error is an analysis. It's not a manipulation.
What does the error analysis tell you?
It tells me that the error in the scales is somewhere around 0.03 standard deviation, or I can't remember the exact number. That means that the measurement is valid because
the difference from location to location is far greater than the error. That's what it says.
So in other words, let's just ignore all variables. Let's just say it's fine because it's close enough. Good, there we go.
No, let's not ignore the variables. Let's take every variable into account. Let's make our measurements. Oh, look, they match the prediction. Oh, there must be some magical monkeys on typewriters somewhere, because obviously temperature and pressure did not take into account. So therefore, there's a magic monkey on the inside the scale, or doing something or something. Some magic happens in the scales that the result exactly matches the prediction. What magic is that, Flatzoid?
Again, this is exactly what your globers always do. You have discrepancies, and therefore your error is based on correlation to your predicted model. So you make it fit your predictive model. Do you think you would have had the same readings, which was inaccurate, as you said, if you took all the variables into account, the controls?
Can you repeat that? What was that again?
If you took all the control variables into account, do you think you would have the same reading?
The readings vary because of there's a natural error in the readings. So they vary by a couple of hundredths, a few hundredths. No matter where you go, you're going to get a variation. And I can test that variation by measuring 100 times at the same location. I don't need my results to work out the error in measurement, right? You can measure 100 times in the one location, and you know that you can work out your error from that. So I don't understand the question. I don't know why you have some random effects like temperature and pressure, how they can magically match the prediction. You've never answered that in this debate. You still don't answer it. Can you give me a plausible explanation of why the measurement that I go out in the real world matches exactly what was predicted? And when I say exactly, I mean within the bounds of error of measurement.
Did you or did you not say that your scale was inaccurate?
I did not say that, right? I've said the scale has an accuracy, right? Now, if you want to compare that to 100%, then you can define that as inaccurate, but we never do that. Now, can you answer my question?
So
Why is
what's the content?
Can you answer my question? I have asked the question first. Can you answer my question about why do the measurements match exactly the globe prediction? Can you answer that?
This is my answer, and you're not going to like it. The answer is you didn't have a scientific experiment.
Okay, let's just assume that what you said is true. How can I do something just random and wrong and everything, and it wasn't science? Even if that were true, how is it that the weights match exactly within the error of measurement with what the predictions were? If I did it wrong, it wouldn't match.
Did you put those measurement errors before the time or after the time?
Can you answer? How does it match?
You just said it matched within the.
No. How does it match? Can you answer?
Told me, wait. You said it matched.
How can it match? I'm sorry.
Errors.
I'm not going on any further until you answer my question.
Sorry.
No more questions.
Match. You know why it didn't match?
Question.
I'm answering it, Craig.
I'm sorry. You're not answering the question.
Okay, so Craig's muted. Okay, anyway.
Sorry, my bad. Right, I was trying to calm it down then so I could muted myself. That was silly. Right, yeah, let's bring it back down a second. Critical, could you just take 20 seconds to just clarify your question and you in as few words as possible, but try and make it succinct. And Flats, if you could just give a direct answer to his question and see where we can go from there, please. Okay?
Yep.
It's the same question. How is it, if I was doing everything wrong, how could it possibly be that the measurements match the prediction within a few hundredths of a gram? How could that possibly be? What's the explanation?
it doesn't matter because you can't make it causation deduction because everything was done wrong. It could be pixie dusts from space. I can make a claim and a prediction saying it was pink pixie dust.
So, right,
Now,
just to
you-
clarify
now
for
you've got
everyone,
those-
yeah, just to clarify for everyone, are you claiming that it's just a coincidence? Then it is. I don't want to strawman you, and
No.
but
I'm not
because
saying that.
Critical
I'm
has
saying
asked specifically why he'd made a prediction before he went, and then he got there and it matched the prediction. And you're kind of just, again, I don't want to strawman you. I just want it for the audience to be clear. What I gather is you're saying it doesn't really matter. It could be any reason. There's no way to tell, so it's just a coincidence. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, you can take it that way, but you can also say it could be there could be a different cause, could there not?
Critical, how
If
do you
there was a
respond to
different
that?
cause, if there was a different cause, how could it possibly correlate? Again, you're invoking magic, right? Coincidence in this case is the chances of it being coincidence. I've done the analysis. Is like 1 in about 1 followed by at least 25 zeros. So I hope you're not a betting man. Flatzoid.
Okay, and what is the based on your heliocentric model, what is the chances that Earth should be Earth and we are supposed to be here as humans?
Wait, what?
Huh?
What is the chances that Earth is a habitable planet in the solar system? Let's put it that way. How much zeros is behind that?
I don't know.
Well, it'd be a 1 in 8.
Much more than what you just correlated. So,
Well,
did that happen?
The chances of Earth being habitable within our solar system would be 1 in 8, right? Because there's 8 planets in our solar system.
Well, let's say in the universe, have we found any habitable planets in your guys' fantasy?
Proxima B has a
This is
possible
irrelevant.
Earth-like atmosphere, but could you
Well, let's
just
put it this
try
way.
and clarify your question, because I don't think anyone really understood what the question was there, Flats. So
In other words, it's so impossible for something to be the way it is based on your globe model that we live now and have life and everything and working perfect in harmony, much more than his 25 zeros he just put to that coincidence. And he's trying to say something that's more possible to happen to his coincidence is less likely to happen than what you guys claiming to happen with just everything as we are living right now. That's my point. But the thing is, I'm saying it's not coincidence. There could be a cause for it. It has to be because it's observed, as you say. What is the cause? You don't know because you didn't science it. You just correlated it and claimed it's a spinning Earth. Get it?
False.
What's false about it?
I didn't claim. I made the hypothesis. I measured in the real world, which is what you do in science, and then I've correlated the result. And because there's no competing hypothesis, this hypothesis is almost 100% likely to be true.
How? How do you know it's the cause if you didn't actually manipulate the cause?
Well, I did. Sorry, you haven't
No, you
haven't
didn't.
understood.
Location
completely
change is
understood
not
everything I've
centrifugal
said.
change.
I have manipulated the cause. This is just you saying something that's not true.
What, just saying I'm saying something's not true doesn't make it not true. So I want to know, how do you know it's the cause?
I probably better be quiet now because I will start to delve into the insult area, and I need not do
You
that.
already did ages ago.
it's been relatively calm. Not too
You
bad.
actually did a good job tonight, Craig.
I'm trying my hardest.
Although you did try and help him a few times. But,
Well, I wasn't trying to help him. I was trying to help the conversation. I think I tried to be fair to
but I
both
think
sides
you
for
did
that.
I
Yeah.
think you did a good job. So I'm
Well,
giving
your
up.
chat timed me out for some reason, Flats. I thought I was being nice over there, and they just timed me out anyway.
Ah,
Yeah.
sorry guys. Okay, so yeah, I think I've made my point. He hasn't brought science. He hasn't done anything
Ah!
correlative gestures, and he doesn't even understand what science is.
Huh? I'm sorry.
And now he's losing his mind.
Oh my God.
Go to my
It's so
happy place.
funny.
I think that's everyone can understand how Critical Think thought about what you just said there. It was quite clear his response in that case. All right, so yeah, there's no point kind of dragging it out. So I've got some questions, and guys, if any more questions for either Critical or Flats, please send a super chat. You're right to go through a few questions and stuff, guys.
Yeah, and same this guys. If you got anything for them, let us know.
Right,
I
but
do have it already.
before that, I did make a note that something Critical wanted to go back on. Critical, you wanted to expand on the difference in location and what that meant for the weight difference.
Yeah, I tried to cover that. So
Right,
we're
okay.
getting nowhere. So
Right.
no point. in,
Okay, all right. I did make a
covering
note
it
that
again.
you wanted to go back to that, but if you're happy to move on to questions, then that's cool. All right, let me just go through. Signal Step $5 says this is way too early. My credit card hasn't paid off yet, and I think the last few went to Craig McToon. Check that, please. Just ask Santos Bonacci. I am MC Toon. Apparently, did you see that, Flats, by any chance?
No, I haven't watched
Yeah.
it yet. I still
Santos
wanna-
Bonacci
just-
demanded
I
a
don't-
debate.
Because I don't watch Sanchez, it's going to be quite painful.
Oh, it was painful. He demanded a debate with me. He sent me days worth of insulting emails because he thought I was MC Toon. And even though I told him that I wasn't MC Toon. And then he rage quit after 18 minutes when I pointed out he was on the run from the authorities. That was fun. Turtle Moves £2 said, you're moving your own credit card, Signal Step. Right, let me see if there's any questions for Flats here. Patrick Nintaman says, Flats, are you pretending to not understand the experiment, or do you just really not understand?
Or maybe I do understand, and I've literally shown he has no idea what cause and effect is.
Any response to that, Critical?
Well, I'm sorry that Flatzoid doesn't understand science.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it says the guy that doesn't know what an IV is.
Says the guy that doesn't know what an IV is. That's correct.
It's the independent variable, the presumed cause that you manipulated in the
How
experiment.
to
Which you
manipulate
didn't do.
a variable. You don't know how to do science.
Oh, really? Is that so?
Yes.
Want to test that out?
Yes.
Okay, how are you going to test it out? Go ahead. Ask me.
You do my experiment and
Of course, isn't an experiment.
hypothesize, do it the correct way with science and make a hypothesis and do everything. You do my experiment, do it the way it should be done.
Okay, okay. If you change location...
No.
different-
I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to listen. I just want you to do it.
I'm telling you
Come
now.
back.
No,
Come
I
back
thought
when
you
you-
said you want to test me on this. So I'm going to do it for you now.
Yeah, test it. This is what the test is. You go and do the experiment.
We observed
Do the
different
science.
changes in weight when changing location, and the changes are due to multiple variables.
You do
take
the
into
experiment
account-
and you do the science
The
and show
experiment-
how it's
The
done.
experiment is
Show
based
how it's
on-
done, Flatzoid.
or-
Would
I
you
am
be...
going to say, I can take a weight in.
No,
and
I
if-
don't want to hear
I
what you
can
want
take
to
a
say.
weight
I
in-
want to
wait,
see
wait, wait,
you.
I'm going to give. I'm
Right,
gonna,
just give him a chance to
Cool.
finish what he's saying, and then maybe you can challenge him to actually do it. But yeah, just do give him a chance to finish the words that he's trying to get out.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay. It's
Hypo-
okay. I'm just trying to be fair to both sides.
Okay. Hypothesis. When place a weight on a scale in a vacuum, the independent variable which causes the weight to change is the medium to weight ratio. So, when I manipulate the medium, the weight will change. There we go. That's the hypothesis experiment and repeatable, and it's always shown. Next.
That's my experiment. I want you to do my experiment.
Yours is not an experiment.
No, no.
I don't need
Wait,
to
wait.
do your
I
dumb
need
thing.
to-
Right,
It's not an
Flats,
experiment.
give him a chance to respond. I did give you a
chance to talk.
chance. Yep.
So, you said I don't know science. You should do it the correct science way. Do my experiment do your weight at various locations. Do it the way that I should do it, according to you. The proper science way. Go to various locations and do the experiment and let me see your analysis.
Okay, I'm going to tell you again. What you did was not an experiment. It is not my burden to try fix your not experiment. You said I don't understand science, so I just gave you a scientific hypothesis and repeatable experiment that you can do yourself. You, on the other hand, have given correlations by ignoring fundamental things like temperature, pressure, wind, humidity, change of movement, everything, and just say, well, it's close enough, so therefore it's true. You, sir, don't have a cooking clue what's going on. I have a repeatable scientific experiment I just told you. You don't. So trying to reverse the burden onto me because you failed to do so doesn't work, man.
Right, let's let just the final word on this point, then move on to the next question, okay? Go on, Critical. You just have the final word on that there.
Okay. In your experiment that you measure your weight, is there any correlation in your experiment?
Causation.
Right, okay.
Correlation comes after causation.
Right, okay, that's certainly Clips. All right, Eclipse Chris, £2, says, Flatzoid, there is 2 polar rotations. This only works on a globe. It's not flat.
2 polar rotations works on a donkey Earth if you wanted to. It doesn't really matter. Always moves east to west, no matter where you are on where you stand. The nice thing is, we stand on a flat Earth and we observe these using elevation angles, which requires the Earth to be flat.
Eclipse Chris for £2 says, Flatzoid, location is a variable as you vary your location.
So cause for weight change is location, not centrifugal force, so therefore not spinning Earth. Cool.
Critical, any thoughts on that?
No.
Eclipse Chris says, Flatzoid, science is not what you think it must be.
These are not the droids you're looking for.
You think you can Jedi mind trick me? Come on. JSS Tiger, $5 says, Flatzoid, what science degree or other scientific qualifications do you have?
You don't need a science degree to know what the scientific method is and how it works. Just like you don't need to own a Ferrari to know how the mechanics of a Ferrari works.
Critical, what about you? What science degree or qualifications do you hold? Or engineering qualifications or anything?
Bachelor of Electrical Engineering and a Master of Engineering Science.
Amazing. So way more than Bill Nye.
I don't know what an IV is. That's amazing.
I mean, I think his professor would have disagreed, but...
How insulting. That's all you got, insults.
Okay. Then how do you have to manipulate the independent variable?
We've got enough. We've had enough of this circular argument. Can we get on?
I just want to make the point. Do you have to manipulate
I don't want to hear any of your rubbish. Okay, go on.
Right.
Do we have to manipulate the independent variable? That's all I'm asking. Do we have to manipulate the independent variable?
Stop the stupid business.
Yeah.
Just carry on, Craig.
It's clear he doesn't want to answer, so we can move on from that. Okay, Valentin Damyanov, and I do apologise if I get your name wrong, $4.99 says, Flatzoid, what have you worked or what do you work as that is related to science? You don't have to answer that if you don't want to, because that is a personal question.
I'm a qualified professional spray painter, and I work with scales every day, measuring different densities and literally changing my independent variable, which would be color change, to get the result. So, in theory, it's scientific.
Have you ever thought about putting like a GoPro on, just recording yourself spray painting? Because those kind of videos kill it on shorts.
I did at a stage, I made like 3 or 4 different spray painting videos, but it's just too much of a rigmarole at work. I'm so busy.
Even just like sticking a GoPro camera on and like just getting on with your day? I'm just saying, because honestly, the amount of those kind of things that appear on my feed and then I'm just staring at them for 5 minutes watching someone spray paint a wall. Eclipse Chris, £2 says, for Kutz, can you get the exact same orange to repeat? Oh, I think he's talking about your experiment with the orange peel. Can you repeat the exact same experiment if you don't have the exact same orange?
Yes, because an orange is an orange.
And are all oranges exactly the same?
No, because the thing is not about the orange, it's about the density of the orange. So it's the changing in density and the displacement ratio it has with the medium around it. You don't need to use an orange per se, you can use any object because, again, it's about changing the displacement ratio between the object and the medium.
Any thoughts on that, Critical?
No, we're all good.
Jay says Tiger $5 says Flatzoid, quantify with maths the effect of the lack of calibration.
How the hell do you do that? It's just if it's not calibrated, it is inaccurate, so therefore gives a false reading. So therefore data is false and a lie to claim it is scientific data because why? False data.
Critical, about
Okay.
you, what is the effect of the lack of calibration?
So the effect, in my case, the lack of calibration is a key to the whole experiment, and there is no lack of calibration. I calibrate once, measure many, and this allows me to measure the effect of no calibration. And funnily enough, it correlates to exactly what the globe predicts. Funny about that.
Do you know what calibration is?
Yes.
What's calibration?
The scales need to be adjusted for location, because if you don't adjust them, then there is a different gravity at different locations, and you will not measure an unknown mass correctly if you don't calibrate the scales.
No, it gives a different baseline reading. That's why it's calibrated. Calibration gives a
The
baseline
main
reading.
bit for
So if you
calibration
move baseline reading, the baseline changes. So therefore you can't have the same measurement because the baseline has moved.
yeah, because of gravity. That's right. You
Because
are
of
correct.
physicality. No, I didn't say anything
No,
about
no, it's not. I
It's
measured
about
it.
the
It's
scales
not a fallacy.
mechanics. It's about the scales mechanics. So,
Critical,
No, it's far less about the scales mechanics.
Critical, do you know what the margin of error of your scales is off by hand?
Say what?
Do you know the margin of error of your scales off by hand?
My scales, it's about 0.03. It's claimed 0.1 grams, but my measurements make it about 0.03.
there's an E10.
And how close to your margin of error was the reading out? You were saying it's a couple of hundred milligrams.
In Antarctica, 0.02 was the difference.
And the margin
So
of
the-
error is zero. up to
The
0.2,
scales
right?
are claimed accurate to 0.1.
Right. Okay, right, cool. A few people had asked that, so I just thought it'd be interesting to know. Odiaf the Fourth with their 20th super chat on the channel. Thank you, $5 Canadian. Flatzoid, you mentioned you did experiments. Did you make sure the GPS location was exactly the same as your control, or are there variables that are not important?
What has a GPS got to do with my hypothesis and experiment that I made?
I think he's just asking, do you have to literally check everything? Like, did you confirm that you were where you said where you thought you were, and it matched GPS so you could, or is there some things that you don't have to?
Location wasn't part of the experiment, so no. When you have an experiment, you have controls. It's usually part of what the experiment details. So your control would be something that could manipulate or change the result. He did not control for any of these things. When I made that experiment now, there was no change location. It was in the same location. So no need for GPS coordinates. It's literally a red herring.
Any response, Critical?
When Flatzoid moved his scale, he didn't calibrate or even check that it was still level, and the change was within the error of the scales. So it proves nothing. I don't know why he's trying to make a point out of that.
Moving the scale takes its calibration out.
So you
By the
did
way,
you
an
recalibrate
aluminium
the
flat
scale?
top-
You did not.
I do I literally recalibrate my scale, like I said, every 2 months.
In your video, you moved your scale. You didn't recalibrate it.
Because I just showed it changed the. I took the reading and I moved
you didn't
it.
recalibrate your scale.
Because
What?
I showed you when you move it, it takes it out of calibration. That was
Yeah,
the
so you didn't
point.
recalibrate it.
Because it was showing your idiocy. It was literally showing demonstration to you why you got the result you did. Because you moved it.
So it was within the
Are you so
measurement
slow?
error. So it's nothing. It's a nothing burger.
In other words, it didn't change the weight. The weight was the same. It gave a
But in
different
other words,
reading.
when I move my scale, the weight changes exactly as predicted by the globe model.
Oh,
No,
the
I
weight-
don't know
Okay,
why
let me
could
ask you a question.
possibly be.
Okay, let me ask you a
I
question.
know,
Is a kilogram-
some magic.
Okay, is a kilogram a kilogram?
A kilogram mass is a kilogram mass, wherever you go.
Thank you. A kilogram mass is a kilogram mass wherever you go.
But it weighs different.
Okay, does a kilogram mass weigh different as a kilogram mass?
Yeah.
Huh? Can you explain the question?
You said the mass is the same, but it weighs different.
Yeah,
Does a
that's what
kilogram
the
of mass
experiment.
weigh?
That's what
Does
the
a,
experiment measures.
does a
Of course
kilogram
it's
of
different.
does a kilogram of mass weigh different than a kilogram of mass?
Yes, it weighs different at different locations. It's the same kilogram mass. It's not a different one. It weighs different at different locations. That's what
That's my
that's
case.
my whole
To-
experiment.
to-
Why are you laughing? That's my experiment.
Okay.
So to clarify, the mass of the object is different to the weight of the object. Flats. That's I think what's critical is trying to get out there. The mass would be 1 kilogram, whereas
And how does he know
the weight
this?
would be measuring like newtons.
And how does he know this?
Sorry, how does he know what the weight? No, it's just
How does he know this difference that a kilogram is different than a kilogram?
that. No,
By weighing it.
Without calibrating it.
Correct? That's how you tell.
I rest my case, guys.
Well, right,
Calibrate
JR.
once, weigh. I rest my case.
JR with their 5th super chat on the channel says, Flatzoid, I don't think there's a word that can accurately describe the magnitude of just how much you don't understand. That's just more of an insult. You don't need to respond to that if you don't want to.
It's simple. Saying you don't understand didn't debunk me. It doesn't refute me in any way. And that's all I got tonight is you don't understand. That means you don't have an answer.
That you don't understanding is just a fundamental thing. Everybody who knows something can see clearly you don't understand. Sorry about that.
I hope you looked in the mirror when you said that.
Let me just see if there's any more questions for you. Theodore Paul 499 says, Flatzoid, why are you so arrogant? What experiment have you done sticking to the standards you are demanding? What is the cause of denser stuff going down LMAFO?
Relative density disequilibrium has been explained many times. Even your gravity literally relies on relative density disequilibrium. Like I said, stick a man on a scale, or object on a scale in a vacuum. The manipulated variable was the medium, so the ratio between the displacement between the object and the medium changes its weight, and therefore it has to either go down or up because the air can either support it or it can't. It's medium dependent. Always the manipulated variable is the medium and object ratio displacement ratio. There we go.
Any
And this is
thoughts?
repeatable constantly, always.
Any thoughts, Critical?
Oh, not taking notice of that word salad. Thanks.
Eclipse Chris for £2. I'm going to paraphrase what he says here. Do you think that if you took your version of science to actual scientists, you would get laughed at, Flatzoid?
What version? It's the scientific method. It's not my version. There's one version. It's the method.
Well, I mean, there's more than one scientific method, but yeah, I guess the question is, if you went to a scientist and explained what you understand about science, do you think they would agree with you?
Because it's the method. Yes.
Well, again, there is more than one scientific method, but that's not what I'm asking. I'm just asking if
The
you...
method.
But yeah, there is more than one scientific method. I've shown you the different scientific methods.
Sorry, I don't know. Maybe it's just my English, but last time I checked, method is singular. Methods is plural.
Yeah, there's a scientific method for like different fields of science have their own scientific method. You know, different industries have their own scientific method. I mean, I'm not arguing. I'm just kind of so that he can understand. He's just asking if you went to a scientist and explained how you understand science. Do you think that they would agree with you, or do you think they would laugh at you?
Does not present the scientific method.
Right. Okay. The scientists in my chat are disagreeing with you. That's strange.
They would agree with me, and they have.
Yeah. Just seeing if there's any more. Johnny46BA £5 says, Flatzoid, what direction does the sun rise in South Africa during the solstice? Is it south of due east or is it top left?
Top left. Wait for my video where I did the observations, which shows it to be 5 degrees off of the globe prediction. 3 times.
Cool.
That's called testable.
He needs to answer the question.
I just did. 5 degrees off.
I didn't hear any directions in there. Which direction? South of
You'll see
east
my video when it comes out. And when it
Okay.
sets, it's also off.
So
by
no
the-
answer.
If you watch my lives, you would have seen it, Critical.
What if I didn't watch?
Not 118 degrees southeast as the globe says, just to let you know.
Right, let me just see if there are any more questions. Guys, thank you very much for the super chat support. Mr. B says for $5 Australian, Flatzoid, being repeatable means that you can go and repeat the test yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Not really a question, just a statement. Okay, these are just insults. I'll read them once you're not here.
Thank you.
DJ Most for €5 says, Flatzoid, what object did you use to verify density, magnetism, etc. affects falling speed? And where can I see a video of it? If there's no video, then it didn't happen.
He gave a hypothetical to understand, so I told you what the scientific hypothesis and experiment would be. We just saw Action Lab actually do it for you as well, so...
Okay. I don't think there's actually any... Honza Kuf for 50 CZKs. Flatzoid, what is the difference between mass and weight? How can you be weightless but still have inertial mass?
You still need mass. Everything at substance has mass. The thing is, your density determines how much you weigh.
I think there's one more that was a question for you that I may have missed.
In other words, simply, how much stuff is crammed into a volume?
No, I think that's all the questions for you from my side. Is there any questions on your side for Critical?
I'm just looking through. It's more statements than questions there. But I'll start at the top. $5. Thank you, Stroops the cat. He says, well, if it isn't old Craig.
Oh, Stroops. It's alright. Stroops is just upset because he's realised that literally nobody likes him. Sorry.
Okay, the next one's for $5 for him. I'm sorry, I don't have as much as you, so I'm going to read them all out. Is that fine?
Go ahead.
FTFE looks like a butch lesbian I've ever met.
Right,
Thank
guys, can you stop hitting on me? Right, I know you all have pictures of me in your wank bank. Right, you know what? If you guys are excited here, there's something to look at for you. Okay, is that enough?
I must say, Craig, you have definitely improved, man.
Thank you. I've worked bloody hard, mate. I'm only like a stone and a half off my target weight.
Very good. Stoops the cat again. Gay.
Are you, Stoops? I mean, it's cool. I've got nothing against homosexuals in any way. I'm glad that you finally come out of the closet. I would say your friends be happy, but you don't have any, so never mind.
And then Stoops the cat again. That's not how moderating works, Craig.
I think I've done pretty good at moderating today. I feel like I've been fair to both sides. I've tried to get both sides to answer questions, and I've tried to keep it calm. I'm not a moderator in general, but I've been trying to do some moderation, and I am trying to moderate the way that I would like to be moderated. And I feel like I've been fair. Any criticism is welcome, as I am constantly trying to grow. But Stoops the cat, your opinion means nothing, so shut the fuck up.
And then Tony Whitcomb for £10, he says, critical think. Before you even start, you need scientific evidence of gravity as your prerequisite for you to have an opinion.
No, that's not what I wasn't. I was testing, assuming that gravity exists. Can we measure an effect and verify this? And I verified that gravity explains the variation in weight. That's the scientific method.
So it wasn't centrifugal force then?
Say that again, what?
It wasn't centrifugal force that changed, and now it was gravity.
Well, I was simplifying it a bit. Gravity and centrifugal force combined will cause a change in weight.
Oh man, making my point more. Thank you very much. Okay, from Kunal Chatterjee, thank you for your $5. He says, in Anchorman, where's Mantooth about Brick Tamland? Even the guy who can't think says something. That line describes critical think perfectly today. And then
Whatever.
Tony Whitcomb for his £5. He says, Flatzoid is debating Donk from Crocodile Dundurp. Thank you for your super chats, guys. You rock. Is that all the questions you have?
There's one more just coming for you, Flatzoid, that's okay. Eduardo Ferrezo with their 20th super chat on the channel, $5, thank you. Flatzoid, could you do the experiment changing pressure in a similar amount of change from Australia to Antarctica?
If you took a controlled environment, yes. You can take a vacuum chamber and you can seal it off to compensate for all the controls and do the same. Exactly the same, yes.
And Earth is Life asks you, Flatzoid, why did Wolfie and Critical Think get the same result when they did the experiment?
Wolfie was on a plane when he did it. Moving plane.
Well, he's also been
not the
stationary.
same experiment.
Yeah, he's done it in stationary points as well and got the same results as Critical.
Like I said, correlation doesn't mean causation. There could be a
No, but
cause
it's
for it.
repeatable. It shows it's repeatable.
No, just shows there could be a cause for what you observe. What is the cause? You don't know because you didn't make an experiment. You
We
correlate.
did make an experiment. We made a hypothesis, did the measurements, correlated the results. That's the experiment.
You didn't manipulate the independent variable because you don't even know
Yes,
what
of course we
the
did.
independent variable is.
Have you been smoking again?
Okay.
So
Is it gravity or is it centrifugal force or is it location or is it height? Which one?
I will explain again. Thank you. The location and the location determines what your gravity will be at that location. Gravity and centrifugal force combine to form a downward force, which you measure by the scales, and you manipulate that gravity force by changing your location. You manipulate your independent variable by changing your location. So I don't know how many times I have to explain the same thing.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna play this back to you. The Justice League needs all the members, or it's not the Justice League. There we go.
Batman's the Justice League. Stringfellow Hawk says, Flatzoid, to be clear, it doesn't take a rocket surgeon to laugh at you. We are all laughing. But yeah, that was the last one. Right, I want to say thank you to both of you guys. It's been mostly calm and respectable, and I hope that you both feel that I've been fair to you as a moderator. I have tried my best. Criticisms are welcome because I am new at moderating and trying to grow. Critical, I know it's extremely early for you there, so I want to actually say, a special thank you to you for getting up at 3 a.m. for you to do this.
Yes.
Yeah, so Keith, I hope you appreciate that because, the global time zones and stuff. And once again, guys, Critical did go to Antarctica, but unlike a lot of the others, Critical had to fund the trip himself, and it's not a cheap trip. In the description, and thanks to my mods in the chat right now, is a link to his fundraising. And instead of super chatting me anymore for the rest of the stream, could you please give anything that you would have given to me to Critical Think, because he spent a lot of money going there off his own back trying to get the data that he did. Whether Flatzoid agrees with it or not, he certainly did go there and get a lot of data that is extremely interesting to look at. I heard you got quite ill while you were there, Critical.
Not too bad. Not quite ill, right? It was a mild case of flu, but it was over in a few days. But I did cough and splutter for about a week after. Yeah, but otherwise not too bad.
It was Witted's vaping, man. He breathed on you.
Vape gay. But yeah, also congratulations for spending 10 days with Witsit and not getting put in jail. That's always some kind of accomplishment.
Next up, it's your turn, Craig.
Well, yeah, my wife's coming with me, so I'm definitely, she's going to make sure that I'm behaved. In 28 days, I meet Witsit Gets It. What fun.
And just tell him, Flatzoid says personally hello.
Okay, so Flatzoid says you're a cunt. Was that right? But thank you, thank you to Flatzoid as well. I know it is getting, is it just past midnight there for you?
Yeah, 10 past 12. So
yeah, so thank you as well. I know it's not too bad, but I know that you work hard every day, so I do appreciate you taking the time to come on. And I do appreciate the fact that the past couple of debates you've had on the channel have been mostly respectful and calm and easy to kind of deal with, and it's made it easy on me being a new moderator, so I do appreciate that. Thank you to everyone in your chat, even you, Mr. Cheswick. I know I live in your head rent-free. It's dark, damp, and smells slightly of cat wee, so you might want to deal with that. But yeah, guys, thank you very much. I'm going to shut down the stream now and read the rest of the super chats. And I want to say thank you again to both of you for having an excellent debate. Guys, remember once again, help out Critical Think with his fund me to cover the expenses. Guys, thank you very much, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
No worries. Bye-bye. Well, I thought that went pretty well. Oh, his chat's like calling me a lesbian and saying, are they implants? What, is this implants? No, man. I've worked hard for that. Oh, yeah, Big Fish. Plenty of candidates for top left. Michelina199 says, instructions unclear. Do we send super chats? No. No more super chats. Give them to Critical Think instead, please. Thank you very much for your support. It's absolutely incredible, guys. You know that I love you so much. Not you, Gary. Eclipse Chris, £2 says, Flatzoid, oh crap, I missed that one. How far is too far to see, Polaris or boat? I'm sorry, I thought I'd read all of them to Flatzoid. I do apologise. The Turtle Moose for £2 says, what? Even Arwen is doing better than Nathan. Oh, it is funny that Nathan Oakley has not got any extra views of all this Flat Earth, revitalization. Flatzoid's channel has grown like 1800%, which is still, not that much, but blowing Nathan Oakley out the water, which is funny. Jiffy Cones for $2, a super chat to piss off Pentalica, members soon. And then Jiffy Cones gifted 5 fuck you Ashtons, and of course, today I've had 112 new members, and not one to fucking Ashton. I might have to speak to fucking YouTube about this at this point. Right, guys, on the last day of this month, I'll be doing another membership drive stream, right? And here's the thing. We're going to get Ashton a membership, right? Whoever gifts Ashton the membership will get a one-of-a-time, specifically made for you, t-shirt to commemorate the fact that you have got Ashton a membership. So look out for that. It's a Rubik's $2 says, NASA's forcing me to send this super chat. Yep. What is it, 12% of your paycheck they said has to go to me? That's how NASA funds me, is the people that work for them, they make them send me money. Mr. Slam says, I gave Flats too much leeway and the day it went sideways. What do scales have to do? Well, the point of the debate was this, the experiment that that Critical did with the scales. So, I mean, I tried to keep it on that. Jack Fetter 199 said, boring, get past calibration. Okay, Jack, sorry about that. And Jack Fetter says, 199, you guys are literally less interesting than dirt. Yeah, well, we're guys, so we keep a little dirt under the pillow for the dirt man, in case he comes to town. Wait, what? Jack Fetter $2 says, I officially give up. This is boring and tedious, Jack. Dude, this isn't an airport. You don't need to announce your departure. But thank you very much. Andrew Campbell, member for 4 months, says, Flatzoid makes me miss the scientific rigor of Bob Nadell. Oh, well, you know, Bob, we missed your days of showing how the Earth rotates, don't we?
If the Earth is spinning at one rotation every 24 hours, that means that every hour it has to turn 15 degrees. And if the gyroscope is mounted anywhere on Earth, it's going to drift. In today's 21st century navigation systems, they're using what's called a ring laser gyroscope. It is extremely precise. If we could simply get one of these ring laser gyroscopes, we would be able to prove once and for all that there is no rotation to the Earth. One of the people in the community actually purchased one for $20,000. But what we found is when we turned on that gyroscope, we found that we were picking up a drift.
How much, Bob?
A 15 degree per hour drift.
Thanks, Bob. You'll be missed. Your contributions to globe science are never forgotten. Abates $5 says, in any Flerf C2FAR photo, they never take into account or control refraction. Flerfs spinelessly stand on principle, only when convenient. Well, yeah, not gonna fucking lie with that. JR for $5 says, I smell 1,000 more final experiments coming. Just send me to space, Will. Come on, Will Duffy, just send me to space. That'll do. Stephen Wormhaven for $10. Oh, let's run out. Oh, sugar, what am I doing? Stephen Wormhaven, $10. Not all who wander are lost, but Flatzoid is wandering in circles and is lost as shit. You're not wrong. Janos Takos, 1024 huffs. I watched the stream frame by frame. I can pinpoint the exact location where Flatzoid lied. It was kind of when his mouth moved, right? Mr. E-Man, $5 Australian. I would appreciate if you could share part of the Super Chats with Critical Think. Thank you, FTFE. Do not worry, I will be donating to his GoFundMe. The Turtle Moose for £2 says, towards a beat boot pillow for Critical Think. Everyone should have a beat boot pillow. It's saved my life many times. Michela says, warning, facepalm protection area. Do not enter without facepalm protection. Richie Harrod for £2 says, 300 million sperm. And Flatzoid was the fastest. I know, it's incredible. Mr. E-Man gifted 5 fuck you Ashtons. Mr. E-Man for $2 Australian says, Flatzoid saying nuh-uh is all that Flatzoid has. The Nadell Prize for $1.99. Saying incompetence is Flatzoid new nuh-uh. Kunomat for 2CHF says nuh-uh is also not scientific. Well, I mean, Flatzoid and Flerfs, that is their science, nuh-uh. So, Orion Cooper, member 11 months, says Flatzoid doesn't understand science, like even slightly. Mr. Jingles for £5. Life is just not fair. Is it the smartest guy in the world has to paint spray cars? What a bummer. Yeah, I know. Flatzoid would be much better used in the industry of science and advancing the world and technology, right? What do you mean everything would explode? Jubilee Deluxe, €2 says, funniest humiliation wrangling of Flatzoid ever. Johnny46BA for £5. No, I've read that one. Mr. E-Man, $5 says, Fuxoid denying that moving the location of the scale would change the weight of the test mass, proving that he is a liar. Or, stupid. Forbidden One, member for 5 months, says, Flatzoid, the dishonest fake Christian, keeps running away from the fact the globe predicted the change in weight. Random variables can't cause that. But he said, nuh-uh, guys, didn't you hear? Jubilee Deluxe for €2. Flerfs feel like scholars when they go, therefore. I had to decode that in my brain then. Dr. Nick for £2 says, pretty sure Fluxoid's head is about to burst. No, that's just the size of his forehead. Who can I talk about? Look at my forehead. CJ Lamrick's gifted 1 fuck you Ashton. Mr. E-Man, who's been a member for 20 months, says Fluxoid is outside of his depth, width and length. With their 10th super chat on the channel, Johnny46BA for £5 says, oh bless, the what flat says something monumentally stupid. then sits back and pulls a smug face, makes I laugh. It's the laugh of incredulity and ignorance, dude. Mr. Eman, $5 Australian, says, Flatzoid is so far away from what science is that he is not even in the same system as Critical Think. Human for $1.99 says, isn't flats legally barred from going near parks? I wouldn't know or like to comment. Jesus for $2, have you ever heard of flatulence? Well, that's a Flerf talking. Eduardo Ferrero for $2 says, Flatzoid misleads. Let me crush him. Debate me. Eduardo, I'll arrange a debate with him and you, no worries. Jack Fair for $2 says, going back to MSNBC, worst debate ever, boring. Again, Jack, I appreciate the super chats, but I mean, you could just not. If you don't, no one's forcing you to watch it. You found it boring, dude. There's a lot of other things on YouTube. Much Gum has been a member for 5 months, says, I don't think Flatzoid is stupid. I do think he has too much of an ego to learn when he's wrong. What he thinks of as being science would be useless. Don't tell him. They're funny. Admiral Snappy Turple has been a member for 1 month, says, first ever super chat from a Cadillian Serpentina, aka the common snapping turtle. Not to mention I made it in Starfleet. We'll be watching Shelby. Will be awesome. Thank you very much, Admiral Snappy Turtle. And yeah, in just over 2 hours, I will be on Top Hats Off being a nerd. Mr. Jingles for £2 says, when Foucault dies, scientists will want his brain. They'll be disappointed there's not one. CJ Lamerick's $2. Can we get Flatzoid to actually answer a question? I tried. I really did. Mr. Eman, $10 Australian. Fluxoid not understand the link between correlation and causation with regard to an actual scientific observation demonstrates the scientific illiteracy of Fluxoid. I don't need to comment. You're just correct. Sean 07AU, member for 3 months. That's quarter of the way around the sun. FTFE, is there a 2% margin of error in the poll? Well, that would make it 98% in Critical Think's favour. WK Fontaine with their 3rd super chat on the channel. Fluxoid, does a South-Celestial pole work on a flat Earth? He says yes, because they're moving in the dome. Borg Emporia, who's been a member for 17 months, says the Borg Collective has gone to the Star Wars universe and assimilated several Jedi and Sith to assist Shelby and Vishelby Dana in future missions. Vishelby Dana is the grandson of Shelby. So, once Shelby retired from Starfleet, he actually got to go back to Vulcan and then married a Vulcan and had a child. Now that child was part human, Tellarite and Vulcan and was kind of shunned by Vulcan society. Around when the child was 10, Shelby and his new Vulcan wife died in a shuttle accident, and Shelby was sent to an orphanage on a space station where he was bought by a Ferengi as a slave. However, the slave freed Shelby's son, and Shelby's son, this part human, Tellarite and Vulcan, married a Ferengi girl, and they had a child who is part human, Tellarite, Vulcan and Ferengi. That is Vel Shelby Dana. Steve from Wormhaven for $10. FTFE, you need to know a push-up stream after being the bigger man today. You look huge. What day is it? Right. It's next Wednesday. 22nd is my next push-up stream. El Guno for 200 Japanese yen. Fluxoid has no idea what error means in sight. Well, you could have just ended that with Flatzoid has no idea. No more was needed. Otto, $5 says, Keith is an idiot. Keith is an idiot. Say it twice, just as nice. Mark, £5 with their 10th super chat on the channel. Flats temperature effects on weight per 500 grams steel weights is roughly 0.00025 grams per degree centigrade. That's 1/4000th of total weight. Those were numbers he wouldn't understand. They would go over his head. GM for 10 New Zealand dollars. Oh, I missed that. I'm sorry. Flatzoid, can you describe an experiment that would prove the Earth is flat? Justify our controlled variables if you can't think of one that is valid for you to conclude it's flat. I'm really sorry. I thought I asked all the questions for him. I must have missed that. And I missed this one as well. I'm sorry. $5 from 78 Mitsu. Critical, what's the largest engineering or scientific project you've worked on? Damn it. I must have skipped some. Shit, I've still got loads of super chats. I'm so sorry, guys, if I missed questions to the guys. Gilberto, €2. Does the scale measure weight of mass Flatzoid? Weight or mass Flatzoid? Well, he doesn't know the difference. So fucking sleepy for $2 says the difference when you calibrate is the measurement. Don't confuse the poor boy. John for £2 says there's palpable disbelief in Critical's voice. Yeah, it's understandable why. And NASA Security Force for $5 says, point of fact, so oranges aren't the same density, mass and temperature. So by his standard, that makes it not repeatable. This is a double standard, he is a joke. You've seen Flatzoid before, right? JR for $5 Flatzoid, can you describe in as much detail as possible, be very descriptive, how being a painter and working with paint makes you credible here? No, he couldn't do that. Mark, £5 Flats, do you agree that you need a baseline measure to be able to see any differences when you change the variable you're trying to measure? I can't believe I missed the fucking chats to him. They must have skipped when I was scrolling down. I'm so sorry. Professor Philip Bell for $2. Flatzoid is an insufferable moron. I mean, not my words, but hey. Jess says, Tiger, $5. Somebody clicked the 1 hour 56 part. Is a kilogram mass the same as a kilogram mass? Much Gun $5 says, when Flatzoid calls science... What Flatzoid calls science is so limited, it would be impractical for any meaningful advancements in our understanding of the natural world. Well, that's why Flatzoid isn't a scientist. Ted Park for $10 Canadian. Could I repeat Critical Think's experiment with precision strain gauge and a 1 kilogram mass? So maybe we should be using the force in newtons as the weight to avoid confusion. I did try to clarify that, but he's a flat earther. Johnny46BA, £2. Why is gold always weighed on a balance scale? For this exact fucking reason. Oh my god, I missed so many questions. I'm such a dumbass. Eric, Master of Flat Earth Theory, $5 Critical. Did you measure the reference objects when you returned? Were the readings the same? Yeah, he did. He says he tested it and it was the same. First super chat on the channel. Popping your cherry. And I missed it to Critical. It was a question. Critical, did you measure the weight? No, it's the same question, but yeah. So thank you, and I'm sorry I missed that. Willsy for £2 says, great show and moderating, Craig, take my cherry. Valentine Daniels, £9.99, thank you very much. Craig McToon, please call me Val. It was fun for a while, but I don't want to make you suffer. All the best, amigo. P.S. You're the very first debunker channel I started following. I am honoured, thank you. Stringfellow Hawk for $10. No, read that. Mr. E-Man, $5 Australian, says, thank you for demonstrating the scientific illiteracy of Flatzoid. Fletcher Boy, $4.99. Does cat wee smell worse than Santos wee? I don't want to think what Santos wee smells like. Eduardo Frodo for $2 says, Flatzoid squirrel, he knew he misled with vacuum. He doesn't understand what a vacuum is. I don't think he misled. He just doesn't know. The Drunk Debunk Show, $1.99, says, poor Ashton. Jesus Christ, $4.99, says, just poured a huge JD after that. Anyone with me? Thank you for your third super chat on the channel. Unibec for 10 PlayStation Network dollars says, Craig, for the love of FSM, what's the beeps? It's my dry herb vape, sorry. Dave McKeegan, £2 says, that was painful and I wasn't even watching. I'm pretty sure I missed some stuff. Oh, thank you very much, like, incredibly, to Catalina Veron, who gifted me 100 memberships and managed to somehow avoid Flatzoid with every single one of them. That's absolutely incredible. I really, really appreciate it. 112 new members today and not one for Ashton. And it's just kind of insulting at this point, right? Yeah, no, I've got everything. Thank you very much, guys. 2 hours, join me on, well, 2.5 hours, join me on Top Hats Off to be a nerd. This was a great debate. I very much enjoyed it. Please make as many clips of the derp as you like. Thank you to Critical Think. Remember to hit up his funding for the trip because he paid for it himself. I'll see you guys tomorrow as me and the Drunk Debunk Show do another co-stream. But until then, remember that, well, let's ask some questions first. Like, can airplanes in the night sky be like shooting stars?
Can we pretend that airplanes in the night sky are like shooting stars? Should be wishing for a brain right now, brain right now, brain right now.
Good morning, these words come with a storm warning. Better batten down the hatches, grab some matches and brace yourself for a long day of misery. YouTube has given me the power to reach up into the sky and show you all that we live on the ball. I bring you science that's comprehensible. Your view is indefensible. You're reprehensible. Go on, Mr. Sensible. When I was young, I never thought I would be here to see this. A pile of random nonsense dressed up as bullshit. Your ignorance will be the death of us all, like running head first full speed into a wall. You could always read a book, buy a telescope, set it up and take a photo of the moon, or just be a buffoon. I send you in a balloon up to the stratosphere in page 3.
You're a few fries short of a happy meal. You're dumber than a box of hair. The wheel's spinning but the hamster's dead, and you're as smart as bait. You forgot to pay your brain bill. You're missing a few buttons on the remote control. 24 cents short of a quarter. You're surfing in Nebraska. You're as bright as Alaska in December, and you fell out of your family tree. You don't have all the cornflakes in one box. You got an IQ of 2 and it takes 3 to grunt. The elevator doesn't go all the way up, and there's a vacancy on the top floor. Your antenna doesn't pick up all the channels. You're several nuts short of a
You're Mr.
fruitcake.
Sensible, calm down, don't go too hard. You don't need the hard Siberian Flerfs in your backyard. You're a man of science, poise and grace. Mage 2 did everything to wipe the grins off the face. So Nathan, get away from those kids. The world is not flat and it doesn't have a lid. Recognise the differences between the textbook and the Bible and control yourself. Lay off your slander and your lies. You're a bunch of knobs poisoning the well of the youth, spreading lies that you like to claim as knowledge and truth. Stop spreading fresh bullshit like the butter on your bread. Maybe a musical assault will knock some sense into your head. I hope one day you'll hear these lyrics and smile, and you realise you used to be a 40-year-old child. Now it's time to wake up, open your eyes and see, and acknowledge the existence of.
You're a few clowns short of a circus. Your phone is off the hook. Your sewing machine is out of thread. You're all foam and no beer. You don't have all your dogs on one leash. An intellect rivaled only by garden tools. There's no grain in your silo, and your skylight leaks a little. Your belt doesn't go through all the loops. You couldn't pour water out of a boot without instructions on the heel. Your slinky's kinked, and you're proof that evolution can work in reverse. A few feathers short of a whole duck, one fruit
Can we
loop short of
pretend
a
that
full bowl.
airplanes in the night sky are like shooting stars? Should be wishing for a brain right now, brain right now, brain right now. Can we pretend that airplanes in the night sky are like shooting stars? Should be wishing for a brain right now, brain right now, brain right now.
You thought it was over? Well, I'm still standing while you're swinging, flinging feces, talking shit just like the human centipede. You've got the mind of a chimp, and I'm here to expedite your shore leave. Cause I'm a seaman, but not the kind I writ up on your mum's gums. I'm the kind that sailed submarines and fired guns. I could float a boat across the ocean with my eyes closed, circumnavigate the globe with a compass and a bag of sausage rolls. Well, all you can do is nibble on your toes. I'll smack you with the hose that you call a water level, sit and swivel. You nasal gazing muppet, you can stuff it harder than the wallet stuffed by Warren Buffett. And I don't care about your sauces unless you're serving them. And I don't care about your lines unless you're curving them. Now step away from me, you're sucking up my oxygen with the vacuum where your brain should be, you dumb fuck. Thank you guys for watching. It has been an incredible week for the channel. And in fact, an incredible month so far. So what we got coming up, we have tomorrow, me and the Drunk Debunk Show. We'll be doing a co-stream. I've got a few things that I want to go over. It's going to be fun. Then Monday, I'm covering something else I've got planned. Then Wednesday is Craig and Toon. And also my push-up stream. At the end of the month, there is the membership drive. There's lots coming up, lots to look forward to. And yeah, stick around, subscribe, like, share. And I love every single one of you. Just not you, Gary. You know what you did. Remember, stupidity's not a right. Fight the flat earth. Fight the flat. 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 Fight the flat.
You call me elf again, you're gonna see what's gonna happen to you.
Hi, my name is Nathan Oakley, and I have been lying to people about the Earth being flat for a lot of years. I did this to hide the fact I have a small penis.
I'm a dumb flat earther, and I don't understand science.
Level